èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé bó ṣe wà yẹn kò mọ bó ṣe ń hide feelings ẹ̀ tí nǹkan bá ti ń dùn báwo máa sọ ń pé alágbádá báwo dẹ̀ ṣẹ̀ mí o ó dẹ̀ ti tán nínú ẹ̀ kò mọ bó ṣe ń báyàn yànjì ó jẹ́ ọmọ alálùbáríkà mo gbàdúrà kọ́ lọ bá mi pèsè ọkọ alálùbáríkà fún kọ́ iṣẹ́ kó má di ṣẹ̀wọ̀n lọ́wọ́.
She's the type that wants just to move close because of behavior, attitude, characters, and the kind of love that she used to show to people. The way God has created her, we thank God because He's unquestionable God. I just thank God for her life because despite the fact that her disability, she can prove to the whole world that she can still do certain things as far as her condition is being concerned. She loves everybody because I recollect that yearly as a staff of this school, especially women, I don't know, maybe it's doing it with the women too, she used to present us a gift as men in this school, no matter how token it is.
She tells me the place of God in her life, making her achieve more than she can imagine.
God is my strength. You know, God is a wonderful God that despite what you are going through, you will surely find a way to make you smile. You will surely find. Though the world may tell you that you are not this, you are not that. But as long as you have this God, you will surely find a way to make you happy. My strength is from God. My joy is from God. Everything is from God. Despite everything that you're going through, everybody goes through a lot in this country, Nigeria. All you just need to tell yourself is that I can make it. I can do it. And just keep on smiling. By the time God works, you won't know. You will just be asking yourself, is it me? Am I the one? Just put your trust in God and try to do the little things that you know how to do. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on God, especially if you give up on yourself, people will give up on you.
And what's more, this 28-year-old lady challenged once again the thought of entertaining self-pity.
I used to feel pity for myself, but not anymore, because God has given me the strength. God has shown me that despite my challenges, I can still go places. By giving me the opportunity to paint with my leg, by giving me the opportunity to show that there is ability in disability.
Well, not much is known about the condition data-wise, and so according to a 2018 article from The Guardian, there are more than 100,000 cases of cerebral palsy in Nigeria, with most affected individuals in need of care due to cerebral palsy effect on functional abilities. But more alarming is a recent data according to Benola Initiative, an initiative aimed at creating awareness on cerebral palsy in Nigeria. The condition affects 17 million persons worldwide and over 700,000 in Nigeria alone. Whereas that data claims a huge number of people live with cerebral palsy, what is more unnerving is that half that number may likely wallow in self-pity. Toma has proven to be an exception, full of life, deep in thoughts and full of cheers.
Wow.
Emotional, she recalls her journey to education and how having a degree remained her most joyful day.
Every day whenever I wake up, I always ask for something that God should give me joy. That's what all the challenges. The day that I finished my NC program, even before that day, I would just sit in the hostel, start screaming, start shouting, start singing. But on the day that I finished my NC, I was just like, are you sure that I finished?
You finished?
Are you sure that I finished? And when I always said, oh, what marry girl? I said, are you sure that it is Toma? She said, it is you. So the day that I finished, I did my last paper. I said, do I have another paper? I was just asking myself, that do I have another paper? They said no. And since from the exam hall to my hostel, I was just shouting, as in I can't believe it that it was me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
That was great.
High five.
Thank you. Oh, high five! Woo! This is beautiful. Let's do it again. Thank you so very much for having us. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
Amidst controversy over anti-government statements, sacked Islamic cleric Sheikh Nurul Muhammadu Khalid gets a new appointment. And INEC has warned political parties to conduct democratic primaries or face disqualification. This is Plus Politics, and I am Kofi Bartels.
Scored the president 70% in the fight against corruption. You see, fighting corruption is not a tea party. It's a difficult task for anybody in any country of the world, no matter how powerful, no matter how developed the countries are. Corruption can be very tricky when it comes to avoiding the long arm of the law. And you also know that corruption crimes are not committed in the open. And that means that a lot of
Welcome back. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, Nigeria's electoral umpire, has advised political parties to ensure their primaries are properly conducted in line with relevant laws. INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, earlier warned that the electoral agency umpire will not hesitate to disqualify parties in primaries that do not adhere strictly to the principles of internal democracy. He also advised parties to avoid contentious primaries that may lead to unnecessary lawsuits. Now, we're glad to say that joining us to discuss this particular issue is INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye. Mr. Okoye, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
When we talk about internal democracy in political parties in Nigeria, how bad is the situation that has caused INEC to issue such a warning?
Well, you know that prior to this particular period, we had the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. Now, the Electoral Act 2010 as amended is no longer in place. What we now have is the Electoral Act 2022. And there are new provisions in the Electoral Act 2022 that we felt that political parties ought to be aware of. And we felt that it was also important and necessary to draw the attention to some of these new provisions. Furthermore, you know that the period given in our timetable and schedule of activities for the conduct of party primaries is already on. So it was, we felt it was necessary, imperative, and fundamental to draw the attention of political parties to what they are supposed to do within this period. And don't forget that the Independent National Electoral Commission is the regulator of political parties. And as the regulator, we expect political parties to conform to the dictates of the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and the regulations and guidelines issued by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
So what are some of these guidelines, if you would? Because I asked you how bad the situation was that has made INEC or led INEC to issue this particular warning. Is it that from your observation, because I know INEC is always an observer at these party primaries, has INEC observed that there's been a non-adherence to the extant provisions of the Electoral Act and also of the laws, apart from the fact that we have a new Electoral Act that has been signed into law by Mr. President?
Well, you know that we learn from experiences. This particular commission, the Independent National Electoral Commission, conducted the 2019 general election, and we learned from the experiences of the conduct of
party primaries and conventions by the different political parties. And you're also aware that we have conducted so many off-season governorship elections within that particular period. We had the Edo governorship election, we had the Ondo governorship election, we had the Anambra governorship election, and we're also going to have the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections. And we've had so many off-season, so many by-elections. So it is a cumulation of the experiences that we gather from these by-elections and off-season elections, as well as our review of the 2019 general election that led to this particular situation. So we just felt that it was necessary to draw the attention of political parties to what they are supposed to do. Yes, the conduct of party primaries, the conduct of conventions, and the conduct of congresses and meetings is within the domestic realm of political parties. They must conform to their regulations relating to their regulations and guidelines relating to the conduct of party primaries. They must also conform to the dictates of their constitution in conduct of party primaries. But more fundamentally, they must also conform to the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, as well as the provisions of the Constitution. So it is important for them to balance all these things and make sure that in the conduct of their party primaries, they don't offend the provisions of the Constitution, the law, and our regulations and guidelines guiding the conduct of party primaries going forward.
All right, Mr. Okoye, you've talked about the Nigerian Constitution as amended. You've talked about the new electoral law, and you've also talked about the internal constitution of the political parties. So does this mean that parties are allowed to decide how they want to conduct their primaries? What if the constitution of a party and what it says can constitute its primary is at variance with the Electoral Act, the new Electoral Act, and then the Nigerian Constitution? What about that?
Well, the political parties, you know that in terms of the hierarchy of laws, the constitutive legal instruments for the conduct of elections in Nigeria revolves around the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, which is the fundamental law of the land. Every other law derives its potency, derives its power, and derives its efficacy from the Constitution. Now, the Electoral Act is subordinate to the Constitution, but it is also a law that governs the rules and regulations and procedures for the conduct of elections. Then we have our regulations and our guidelines and manuals that have the force of subsidiary legislation. So the constitution of the political parties is subordinate to all these laws and regulations that I have mentioned. So if there's a conflict between the provisions of the constitution of a political party and the provisions of the Constitution of Nigeria and the Electoral Act, the Constitution of Nigeria and the Electoral Act, we prevail. The Section 82 and Section 84, as well as Section 29 of the Electoral Act 2022, have made very clear provisions on what a political party needs to do when it wants to conduct primaries for the purpose of nominating candidates. It has provided 3 procedures. 1, you can have direct primaries. 2, you can have indirect primaries. 3, you can have a consensus arrangement. And the consensus arrangement has been provided for under the law. Now, but you cannot just go ahead and conduct party primaries without informing the commission. Section 82 of the Electoral Act makes it imperative, makes it fundamental that you must give the Independent National Electoral Commission 21 days notice of your intention to conduct any convention, any congress, or convoke any meeting for the purpose of nominating candidates. If you don't give us the 21 days notice, the implication is that you have not conducted party primaries. And going by the provisions of the same Section 82 of the Electoral Act, if you do not give the commission notice, this 21 days notice, the implication is that whatever you have conducted is invalid. And if it becomes invalid, the implication is that the commission will not recognize it, and the commission will not recognize anything that is said to be the outcome of such a process or such a procedure.
All right. Interesting that you brought up, Mr. Festus Okoye, sections 82 and indeed section 84, and I'm sure you can already tell where we're going to with this next point. So let's go to the controversial section 84, subsection 12, and of course you're very aware the Federal High Court in Abia State declaring section 84, sub 12 of the amended Electoral Act 2002 as, quote, illegal and unconstitutional. Of course, this has to do with the political appointees. Let me just quote what it says. You're very aware of this already, but not to bore you. It says, no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or the congress of any political party for the purpose of nomination of candidates for any election. You're aware, and I know you've made some statements about this previously, of the constitutional provision. But now that the courts have ruled that they should be deleted from the Electoral Act, what is INEC's position on this?
Well, as of today, the Independent National Electoral Commission does not have a position on this. This is because we are a constitutional body created by the Constitution. Our remit and our fundamental work is to register political parties and roll out guidelines and procedures for the operation. We're also supposed to register voters in time and then update the voters register. But more fundamentally, we are supposed to organize, undertake, and supervise elections to various offices. And that is our remit. It is the responsibility of the National Assembly to make laws for the Federation. It is also the responsibility of the courts, established by the Constitution, to interpret laws made by the National Assembly. Now, we are aware that there are at least three cases pending in relation to the provisions of Section 84, subsection 12, of the Electoral Act 2022. One is pending before the Federal High Court in Abuja here. There's one that was pending before the Federal High Court in Ibadan, wherein the Federal High Court ruled that it didn't have the jurisdiction to entertain such a matter, and that the person who filed the matter did not have the requisite locus to file the matter. And then you had the one in Umuahia. But fundamentally, you can see that the Independent National Electoral Commission is not really affected by the provisions of Section 84, subsection 12. It is within the compass and the remit of the political parties to make a decision and make a determination whether they want to obey the injunction given by the Federal High Court in Abuja, or they want to obey the judgment of the Federal High Court in Umuahia, or whether they want to be bound by the decision of the Federal High Court that sat in Ibadan. But fundamentally, it is the political party is their business to resolve, and also is the business of the Court of Appeal and the Federal High Court to make a determination on the way forward. But the Commission does not have anything directly to do with the provisions of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act. But you see, when you read the Electoral Act in context, when you read it globally, you will also see that the same Section 84, subsection 13 of the Electoral Act provides that where a political party fails to comply with the provisions of the Electoral Act in the conduct of his primaries, that his candidate for the election shall not be included in the election for that particular position in issue. So I think that the political party should be careful, because any mistake, any wrong move, and any wrong interpretation of the law may lead to very, very serious consequences, which a political party may not recover from. So I believe that the political parties will prefer to err on the side of caution than having its candidates for a particular position thrown out on the basis of the fact that they didn't read the provisions of the law very pragmatically.
Okay, so what you're saying, Mr. Festus Okoye, National Commissioner of Voter Education of the Independent National Electoral Commission, what you're saying is that the political parties should decide what to do, that INEC does not have a position on this, but that it's better for them to err on the side of caution. That is, do not go outside what the Federal High Court in Abia State has ruled. No, sorry. Are you saying, so what does err on the side of caution mean? Is it to go with the court in Abia State? Is it to go with the court in Ibadan? Or is it to go with the National Assembly? Because, you know, it's a confusing situation.
Well, the point I'm making is this. The three courts involved are what we call the courts of first instance. We have the Court of Second Instance, which is the Court of Appeal, and then we have the final court of the land, which is the Supreme Court. Now, I believe that the political parties will prefer to err on the side of caution. I'm not offering any legal opinion, but the Federal High Court is the Court of First Instance, and we still have 2 other levels of court that may ultimately tell us where we are and where we should be in relation to the provisions of Section 82, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act. Now, I think that there are also other provisions. If you also look at Section 77, subsection 2 and 3 of the Electoral Act, it also provides that every political party must maintain a membership register, both in hard copy and in electronic form, and that 30 days before the conduct of party primaries, that every registered political party that wants to conduct party primaries must make available to the Independent National Electoral Commission, in both hard and electronic copy, the register of its members that will be used for the conduct of the elections, whether it's a delegate election or whether it's a direct election. So you need to also read the provisions of the Electoral Act globally to see that any slight mistake, any slight deviation by a political party from the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 may have very grave consequences on the ability of that particular political party to nominate candidates. So I'm still saying that the Commission has, as a regulator, drawn the attention of the political parties to the provisions of the law. We cannot force political parties to obey the law or to comply with the provisions of the law. But if they do not comply, the law itself has made it clear that they will not have candidates for that particular position for which they did not comply with the law. And if, for instance, in a senatorial primary, they carry a senatorial primary for one senatorial district to a different place, they will not have a candidate for that particular primaries. Okay. So it's a very, very slippery.
But Mr. Corey, it's a slippery slope, and it's there's no room for error at all. We have instances, you're very well aware, of parties that could not field candidates in different states in elections simply because of some of these issues. So should they say, well, the National Assembly has ruled, the court procedure is ongoing, and we don't know what to do, so let's go with the National Assembly? Is that what you mean by err on the side of caution? That is, all their political appointees at any level whatsoever must step down before they can be delegates or before they can be voted for, because of course, going by your schedule of activities, the 30-day provision earlier heeded to in the Constitution will not apply, because of course you expect the primaries to be done and dusted by June, the end of June. So it means that, are you saying they should go with the National Assembly and the original Electoral Act as amended 2022 until, so that they don't err? Because we're hearing some names, though the Honorable Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami Essien, has come out to deny ever announcing a bid to be the governor of his state. But these are some of the things we're talking about. So are you saying they should go with the Electoral Act for now, or what? Is that what you mean by err on the side of caution?
Well, you know that almost every political party has a legal department. And I know so many of the political parties, they have a galaxy of very senior lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, professors of law, and so on and so forth. I believe that it is important for all of them to go and sit down as a party and then advise themselves in relation to the provisions of the law. The Electoral Act 2022 is different. Let me repeat, the Electoral Act 2022 is different from the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. There are new provisions that have been imputed into the Electoral Act 2022 that were not there in the previous Electoral Act. So I think that they need to go and sit down, take a very critical look at the new provisions in the new Electoral Act, and then advise the political parties for which they are members, or which they serve as legal advisors, or which they serve as external solicitors, and advise them on the best and better approach to adopt in relation to these matters.
Mr. Corey, if political parties, and let's look at the All Progressives Congress, for instance, if any of the appointees, political appointees at any level, we're looking at ministers. Let's look at, for instance, the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Chibuka-Amechi. We're looking at, for instance, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami Essien. Now, none of these men have announced a bid for any office, but I'm just using it hypothetically. If they are given advice, by their legal team, let's go with what the court has said, and all that. And then it gets to the point where the court strikes out the earlier ruling changes the earlier ruling by the Abia State High Court. So the Electoral Act stands as it was passed by the National Assembly. What will INEC do? Will INEC disqualify these candidates?
If you look at the provisions of Section 82, subsection 12,
84.
What it says is that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election. This revolves around the internal dynamics of political parties, who they allow to vote and who they do not allow to vote. So it resides with the political party. Furthermore, if you also look at the law creatively, you will see that if these people are allowed to vote, for instance, and somebody feels aggrieved, the law gives aspirants that participated in the said convention or the said primaries or the said meeting, the local standard to approach the Federal High Court, since it's a pre-election matter, to go and ventilate their grievances. So it is not within the compass or within the competence or within the remit of the Independent National Electoral Commission to advise any political appointee to resign or not to resign on the basis of the judgment of the Federal High Court in Umuahia. The point we are making is that we are aware that there was an earlier decision, earlier ruling by a Federal High Court saying that every person involved in relation to this matter, in relation to Section 82, subsection 12, should take action. Then thereafter, there was also a ruling by the Federal High Court Ibadan saying that it doesn't have jurisdiction to entertain such a matter and that the person who came to court did not have a local standard to institute such a matter. And then there was the judgment of the Federal High Court in Umuahia saying that the said provision is unconstitutional and that the Attorney General should delete the provision from the law. So it's still a slightly confusing situation, and I believe that ultimately that the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court may resolve this particular matter. And that's why I'm saying it's morning yet on Creation Day, and that political parties, it will be much better if political parties err on the side of caution than have all their candidates thrown out, disqualified on the basis of the fact that they didn't err on the side of caution. But it is left for the political parties to advise themselves on the course of action to take. It's not for the commission to advise them, and we are not going to advise them.
Mr. Koye, thank you. I'm sure they would want to know what INEC is saying. INEC is saying, this is where we stand, do this. But you're saying INEC doesn't have a position, but you've given them a proverb, which is to err on the side of caution. I do sympathize with INEC in the situation it finds itself, despite all the difficulties you have to go through to organize an election. It takes months and months of planning to now have to grapple with this, but we hope for the best. We've talked about, and rightly so, that the Electoral Act 2010 is different from the Electoral Act 2022. So as it involves political party primaries, what are the major differences that we should take note of, not just the parties, but even the public? For instance, you insisted in your statement earlier that parties must conduct their primaries in various constituencies as provided for in Section 84 of the Electoral Act. So can you run us through the major, you may not need to do all if you don't want to do that, but the major differences between the former mode of conducting primaries and what we have now?
Well, it's really essentially the same. In the previous act, that's the 2010 Electoral Act, you had two modes of conducting primaries, either by direct primaries or by indirect primaries. But the Electoral Act 2022 has also added the conduct of primaries through a consensus period, a consensus method. But the major issue in this is that if you look at section 84, subsection 9 of the Act, it says that a political party that adopts a consensus candidate shall secure the written consent of all cleared aspirants for the position, indicating their voluntary withdrawal from the race and their endorsement of the consensus candidate. Now, where a political party is unable to secure the written consent of all cleared aspirants for the purpose of a consensus candidate, it shall revert to the choice of direct or indirect primaries for the nomination of candidates for their said elective positions. So this is completely new, and this was not in the previous Act. And we also talked about section 82, section 84, subsection 12, that was not in the previous Act. What was in the previous Act relates to the issue of saying that political appointees shall not be voting delegates. But the new Electoral Act has said that they cannot vote or even be voted for at the convention or congress of political parties convened for the purpose of nominating candidates. Now, I think that section 84, subsection 13 is very, very germane. It's very, very clear. And it's also a very, very slippery slope for political parties, where it says that where a political party fails to comply with the provisions of the Act in the conduct of his primaries, his candidate for election shall not be included in the election for the particular position in issue. And I think that political parties should take a very, very global look of this particular provision in terms of the way it affects them. Moreover, if you also look at the law says that only political parties that conducted valid party primaries shall nominate candidates to the Independent National Electoral Commission. In other words, if you don't conduct primaries within the confines of the timetable and schedule of activities released by the Independent National Electoral Commission, the implication is that you didn't conduct party primaries and you will not be expected to submit the list of personal particulars of any candidate to the commission. Secondly, if you conduct primaries for a state constituency and you go outside that particular state constituency to go and conduct primaries for a particular state constituency, the implication is that you have not conducted any election and the commission will not accept the list and personal particulars emanating from such conduct. Third, section 82 makes it mandatory that every political party wanting to sponsor candidates must give the commission the mandatory 21 days notice of its intention to conduct a convention or congress for the purpose of selecting or electing candidates to various positions. If you don't give the commission that 21 days notice, whatever you do is invalid. And the implication is that you will not be expected to nominate or submit the list and personal particulars of candidates for this particular election. For that particular election. So I believe that political parties should take a very close and global look at the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and advise themselves accordingly, and then comply with the dictates of the Constitution and the Electoral Act. Because if they don't comply, this particular commission will not bend backwards for any political party. Moreover, most of our processes and procedures are electronically done. So we don't have any personal interface with political parties in relation to some of these things. The moment the date for nomination closes, the nomination portal will just shut down and no political party can access it anymore. And political parties should also be very, very careful about nominating candidates that are not of age. They must pay close attention to the provisions of the Constitution relating to age. If you submit the name of a candidate that is underage, the implication is that you disqualified yourself from that particular election, not that the commission has disqualified you. Okay. The implication is that you don't have a candidate for that particular election.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Festus Curry. And indeed, INEC has said in his schedule of activities that the commencement date for the conduct of party primaries, including resolution of disputes arising from the primaries, it commences on the 4th of April 2022 and ends on the 3rd of June 2022. So are parties expect to inform INEC of their dates, or do they just need to go ahead and do their thing and then give you the names of the candidates or invite you for their primaries?
They must give us the requisite 21 days notice. they must give us the mandatory 21 days notice. The law, section 82 section 82 of the Act provides that it says every registered political party shall give the commission at least 21 days notice of any convention, congress, conference or meeting convened for the purpose of merger and electing members of its executive committees, other governing bodies, or nominating candidates for any of the elective offices specified under the Act.
Okay.
And section 82 subsection 5 provides that it says failure of a political party to notify the commission as stated in subsection 1 shall render the convention, congress, conference or meeting invalid. So this provision is mandatory and they are expected to comply. Political parties know about this particular provision. It's been there previously, but section 82 subsection 5 has been added to make it mandatory to show that any political party that fails to comply will not have candidates for that particular position in question.
Okay.
So I think that the lawmakers, the spirit behind this, the intent of the lawmakers is that parties must comply with the internal party dynamics in their political parties and not do anything behind any of the candidates or any of the aspirants or any of the parties interested in going about this. You cannot fix party primaries on the 10th day of June, and then you go and conduct it on the 9th day of June. These are the things that the lawmakers are trying to prevent. They want some level of certainty, don't want any form of ambiguity, and also they don't want anybody to use discretion to undermine or undercut or violate the provisions of the law and then cut off some aspirants from having their intentions of participating in primaries cut short.
All right,
so I think that the intention is very, very clear. And the lawmakers are members of political parties and they knew what they were doing. And the commission supports that we should have internal party democracy in all the political parties. And as a regulator, we are determined to monitor the processes and procedures and for the conduct of these party primaries, and we intend to do the right thing. And Nigerians should expect that we do the right thing.
Mr. Okoye, thank you very much. I have a couple of questions for you, a few more questions, I should say. So please, just stay with us for a minute. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll come and then we'll round up with you. That's Festus Okoye, National Chairman, Information and Voter Education, Independent National Electoral Commission. We'll be back to continue with him for a few more minutes after the short break. You're still watching Plus Politics.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome back. You're still watching Plus Politics right here on Plus TV Africa. My name is Kofi Bartels. We still have live with us via a link the National Chairman, Information and Voter Education at the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mr. Festus Okoye. And Mr. Okoye, thank you very much once again for your time. Just before we move away from the issue of party primaries, you did say earlier that the primaries must be conducted in all the constituencies as provided for in Section 84 of the Electoral Act. Are you talking about the primaries to elect delegates for the convention or the main primaries of the party? And is INEC going to monitor all the primaries of the different political parties? I think we have 18 of them right now at all their constituencies.
Now, the Constitution, the Electoral Act has given every registered political party that wants to nominate candidates 3 options. The first option is the option of direct primaries. The second option is the option of indirect primaries. And the third option is the option of consensus. When political parties are notifying us of the conduct of their, giving us the 21 days notice as required by law, they will notify the commission of the type of primaries they want to do. And based on that particular notification, then the commission will know what to do in the circumstance. For direct primaries, the law presumes that the members of the party will vote in accordance with the registration areas of the commission in terms of the wards. So for direct primaries, if they are going to do direct primaries, we are supposed to monitor the direct primaries in all the wards in that particular constituency. And then for the presidential election, the entire country is one constituency, in which case the primaries will be conducted in the 8,809 electoral wards designated by the commission. Then for indirect primaries, they will tell us what to do in accordance with their constitution. And then for consensus, the law has provided what needs to be done. But let me just emphasize one thing. If you look at Section 29 of the Electoral Act, Section 29 talks about the submission of the names of validly nominated candidates who have met all the requisite constitutional requirements. Now, if a political party submits to the commission and presents to the commission the name of a candidate who does not meet the qualifications stipulated in Section 29 of the Electoral Act and also stipulated in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, such a political party shall, on conviction, be liable to a fine of 10 million. So the implication is that political parties are expected to do due diligence and use due process in the screening and selection of their candidates before submitting to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Because the consequences of submitting the name of a candidate that is not qualified is very, very grave, especially for political parties that are not well resourced. The penalty is 10 million on conviction.
Okay, Mr. Okoye, so thanks for clarifying, and you've talked about it must, if it's direct primaries, the parties can afford the money to do that, then of course they have to invite INEC. I don't know how easy that is going to be. But if we look at the recently conducted governorship elections, we have Ekiti State, we had Anambra State. We look at some of the parties and the primaries that they had. We see that there are complaints of underhand tactics by the governors of these states, for instance, or the leaders, in quote, of these political parties, for the parties that are not in power. If we go to Ekiti State, I'm sure you're aware of the complaints of members of the PDP that one major stakeholder in the PDP, former governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose, was instrumental in determining who becomes a delegate at the primary. And of course, his man, even though he denied it, his man got elected as the party's flag bearer. We look at the candidates on the platform of the All Progressives Congress and their complaints about the process leading up to the party primary of the All Progressives Congress in Ekiti State. And you look at the complaints of the delegates list and governors' loyalists being on that delegates list, etc., etc. INEC monitored these two processes. Didn't you see anything wrong with what went on? There was a video of a gentleman who was a delegate at the People's Democratic Party governorship primary in Ekiti State, who after voting went to show Fayose, he was sitting down there, who he voted for. Is that allowed? That was captured on phone and the video was all over the internet. So if INEC monitors these primaries, how come some of these things happen? And what is INEC doing about the contentious nature of the delegates list of parties? Because one bloc of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State had recently accused the party in that state of presenting people who didn't occupy principal positions in the State House of Assembly as such, and some dead persons were also included in that list.
Well, I've pointed out that the Independent National Electoral Commission is the regulator of political parties, and we have also been given both the constitutional and legal right to monitor the conduct of party primaries by political parties. But essentially and fundamentally, the conduct of party primaries is within the domestic realm and within the domestic compass of political parties. Now, people who feel aggrieved, people who have noticed some infraction, do have a remedy. If you look at section 29, subsection 5 of the Electoral Act, it provides that it says any aspirant who participated in the primaries of his political party and who has reasonable grounds to believe that any information given by his party in the affidavit and so on and so forth is false, can approach the court and ventilate his grievances. If you also look at section 84, subsection 14, it says that notwithstanding the provisions of this act or rules of a political party, an aspirant who complains that any of the provisions of this act and the guidelines of a political party have not been complied with in the selection or nomination of a candidate of a political party for election may apply to the Federal High Court for redress. Now, it is the aspirant who participated in these primaries that has been given the local standard to approach the Federal High Court and complain. And if the Federal High Court comes to the conclusion that the guidelines of the party in terms of his constitution, in terms of his guidelines has been violated, or that the Electoral Act has been violated, the court will definitely declare such a primary as invalid. So I think that the commission will not deliberately dive into the internal affair of political parties when the law has given the locus for so doing to aspirants who participated in the party primaries. So let the aspirants who are aggrieved complain. It's not for the commission at this point in time to complain on their behalf.
All right, Mr. Fesukoe, tell us how many additional polling units have been created that will be new polling units in the 2023 elections. Is this a delineation of sorts? And what is INEC doing to ensure that the voting public knows about these new polling units so that they don't get confused when they step out of their houses to vote?
Well, as an electoral management body, since 1996, no new polling units were created in Nigeria. So what the Independent National Electoral Commission did was to convert what we call voting points and voting point settlements into new polling units. And in so doing, we now have additional 56,872 polling units, bringing the total number of polling units in Nigeria to around 176,000. So going forward, in this during the 2023 general election, we are going to have over 176,000 new polling units in Nigeria, and we are going to deploy to these new polling units. We no longer have voting point settlements, and we no longer have voting points in the electoral process.
All right, I want to bring some complaints from the public to you in my various interactions on radio and TV. Issues with the voter registration in the media that they went to the INEC office to do the registration after they had done the online aspect, and they were asked to refill a form. And after they filled the form, they were asked to pay money. Some have also complained of difficulty in moving or changing their polling units, from place to place. So can you please address that?
Well, when we started the CVR, we were doing the CVR in our state and local government offices because we had not devolved. And we didn't do that on account of security challenges in some of the states. We've had a meeting with almost all the political parties, civil society groups and organizations, with the media and with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, and we decided to now devolve further to the various registration areas on a rotational basis. And that's exactly what we have been doing. We've just finished the third quarter of the CVR, and what we are now doing is what we call a display for claims and objections. The fourth quarter of the CVR will resume on the 11th day of April, and that is the final quarter, and then last till around the 30th day of June. So what we are now doing as of today is that we are displaying for claims and objections, and then we're going to resume again on the 11th day of April. Now, if any individual goes to any of our offices for purposes of registration and the person is asked to pay money, on our platform, the person can report, and we are going to deal decisively with any individual that engages in such act. If we verify that such an information is correct, nobody is permitted to ask for money in order to register any voter. Our online platform has seven services. The first service is in relation to new registrants, those who have never registered before, or those who have come of age and now want to register. Such persons can go to the platform, do their pre-registration, and then go to our state and local government offices to go and capture their biometrics. Then for those who have lost their PVCs, they can also access the platform, and then we will print a new PVC for them. For those whose PVCs have been defaced, they can also do the same thing. Those who are looking for who have registered previously and who are looking for where their PVCs are, can also access our platform, and then they will know whether their PVCs are there or is there or not. And then if it's not there, they can complain, and we print a new PVC for them. So we have different platforms, also in relation to those who want to transfer from one place to the other. In the coming days, the chairman of the commission will address a press conference and then tell those who registered during the first, second, and third quarter when they will pick up their permanent voters' cards before we now get to the last and final quarter. My plea is that we are moving around the registration areas on a rotational basis. People should seize the opportunity of registering. We do not want a situation where we will get to June, there will be a surge, there will be a deluge of persons who want to register. But if anybody has complained in relation to some of our services, the person should complain, and we are definitely going to treat their complaint with some level of dispatch.
All right, but you were saying for those who want to move from one polling unit to the other, they can do that online?
Definitely, yes. What we will now do is that the resident electoral commissioner and the electoral commissioner will assign them to their new polling units, cancel their previous polling unit, cancel their previous registration, and then print a new PVC for them, and then transfer them to the new place where they have migrated.
And all this can be done online on the platform?
You can do it online. It's on the platform. We have 7 services on the platform as of today.
Okay, all right. And you've said that INEC doesn't have a definite date for when the PVCs will be distributed to Nigerians, but you're saying the national chairman will announce this in the press conference soon?
Definitely, yes.
All right, all right. So many questions to ask you, but very little time. We would like to have you back again soon, Mr. Festus Okoye, but thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate this opportunity.
Right, and we've been speaking with the National Chairman, Information and Voter Education at the Independent National Electoral Commission, Festus Okoye. It's about to get a bit more busy for him than it ever has been. Thanks for joining us, and that's the size of a package right here on Plus Politics. But we leave you with what Nigerians think can be done to have better elections in the country. I return tomorrow. My name is Kofi Bertels. Thanks for watching.
Well, the first thing in place, I would like our party system to be restructured. So there's so much duplicity of political parties nowadays. Now we do not know which one is APC, we do not know which one is PDP. So I feel like first of all, we start with our party system. I believe the forms for purchase of positions, electoral offices, is too expensive. For example, I think presidential is about 50 million naira just to purchase the presidential form. Not every capable person can have that financial capability. So I believe we can start from there.
Probably we do it online, and where there is not going to be Ojoro at all, because I know my black brothers, we do Ojoro a lot. So I think if we do it like the way they do it in the US, it's going to be fine. We vote online.
Everybody has to have a voter's card. That one is necessary for everybody to come out and vote. Vote for the rightful candidate. But as of now, if they can bring out the rightful candidate here.
For us to have a better election, I believe that there should be free and fair election. They should allow people should not vote based on the party. I mean, they should vote for the for the individual the contestant, that they believe that he is going to perform. So people should not just judge based on the party, but they should judge the integrity of the contestant. I believe if people can have that kind of mindset, we can have a better election.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation, as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you. and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Sayome Sally, and today I'm joined by the ladies in black.
I didn't even realize that we're all wearing black.
Yeah.
All black, everything.
How are you? Who are we starting with? Let me start with Alero. What happened today? They're just traumatizing you.
Like, I have a headache at the moment. I'm tired.
She said I'm under pressure.
I'm exhausted. I am tired. I cannot wait to... What's that thing that girl said? Go to Dubai,
relax, and
be on the yacht. Yeah. You know, I can't wait to relax. I swear, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But I mean, the good thing is, whenever we go through pressure with work or with life, it's the results that actually, makes it worth it. And I'm looking forward to that result, because once it's out, all of you will not hear word. I'll be talking
we don't
about
want to hear word, though. We don't want to hear word. How are you, Issy? How about you? How are you?
I'm good, I'm fine, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic show tonight.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's an interesting conversation we're having tonight. Why some people are busy disqualifying themselves from World Cup. Women have been doing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
But you see, this is our society that will never recognize us. We will recognize ourselves. If you choose not to recognize us, we'll recognize ourselves. So we're discussing women in sports, right? And here's what we found out today's quote. Sports have no gender. It's as simple as that. This is an anonymous quote from Anonymous. So it's a simple quote. It has no gender, right? So if one party is doing well, the least you can do is invest in them and recognize that they are doing exceptionally well. All right, so the business of Major League Sports was designed for men by men. We all know it. So it's no wonder that women athletes have historically suffered from a chronic lack of investment. For decades, women's sports have been forced to work within entrenched business model copied and pasted from men's league without the funds or sustained commitment that made those leagues the profitable, long-standing institutions they become today. Now we are going to be having a chat with our very own friend of the house, Bukola Lokpade, on driving investment, right, towards female sports in Nigeria. That's a conversation. If you don't want to, we'll help ourselves. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news.
I can't.
You are still watching Ways now on the International Day of Sports for Development and Peace. Promotes healthy lifestyles and emphasizes the International Olympics Committee, that's the IOC, focus on giving as many people as possible access to sports. It's a day when some of the world's leading sports people work together with communities to bring sporting opportunities to enrich lives, particularly children. The IOC and the UN have a long-standing commitment to using sports as a tool for social change and have worked together on many projects over the years. Both organizations have used sporting events such as Olympics, Games, to bridge cultural understanding and improve education, health, economic and social development. So on August 23rd, 2013, the UN proclaimed that the International Day of Sports for Development and Peace will be celebrated on April 6th each year. And this date also marks the opening of the first modern Olympic Games in Athens in 1896. So it's so interesting how the day just tied up to what we're talking about sports today.
Right, such a coincidence.
I mean, we've talked about this I remember, I think the last time before the last time the guest was here, he was here before then, and we talked about how sports is empowering people, right? Helping to bridge the poverty gap.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Aside from the fact that, back in the days when we were growing up, everybody that wanted to be somebody, what they did was like, hey, they wanted to be good footballers. They go out there so that the scouters can actually see them and, actually make use of them in or sign them up into a club or something. So yes, some people out of being a nobody can be somebody.
Yes, of course.
With sports.
When I was
we have the likes of J.J. Okocha and the likes of them.
I mean, my very good friend in secondary school, her mom is Mercy Oku. I don't know if you know her. She used to be an athlete. She used to be a runner.
Mercy Oku,
yes.
I think
so. I mean, that was what even introduced me to women's sports. And I was like, and she was really good.
And Marion Yang.
Yes. So I mean, back in the day, we were always proud of them, like, because we didn't have a lot of women representing Nigeria in either soccer or athletes, you know. But I mean, I remember her from.
So my mom was a fantastic runner. I think we'll leave the sports matter to later, because she was a fantastic runner, and then it was Bendel. It was not Edo. Yes, Bendel. So you know, she actually had the capacity to represent the whole of Benin as the sprint 100 meter. Because even my older sister Faith took after her. That one, she's good with 100 meters, but if you give her long distance, almost now glucose will finish the race. But you know, I mean, my mom is a fantastic sprint, but was never encouraged, because people just feel like you're a woman, you know.
Shouldn't be.
So even that bias is even there. Not to talk of, okay, the ones that have said, you know what, we'll do it. Then where's the money to push and invest, you know? So it's a good conversation to have.
And they're not encouraged at all.
At all. So we're looking forward to having Bukola Olopade. But before then, let me check with you ladies. Let me start with you, Isi. What did you find for us?
Okay, my story is, you know, I like Book of Lamentations because of the issues we have every time. And, you know, food is a crucial part of survival in today's world.
Yeah.
Not even in today's world, from time immemorial. So we have food crisis, hungry persons in West Africa to reach 38 million by June.
Wow.
Now, the report was issued by 11 international organizations working closely with the European Union on food emergencies, and has said that 11 or more persons, a million or more persons could go hungry in West Africa in the next 3 months. Let's take it back to Nigeria, okay? And in Nigeria, we have food prices soar across household products, and, you know, soar across household products too. So there is hyperinflation currently in Nigeria. Everybody is complaining. And we have the heading that says that, let me just dig this one out, says that food prices soar across household products too, and that is hyperinflation has hit the prices of food items and household products across Nigeria. In densely populated states like Lagos, Kano, Oyo, Kaduna, Rivers State, Katsina, Bauchi, Anambra, and the likes of them, with a combined projected population of 121 million residents, are being daily pressured by the soaring prices of staple food items. It's no brainer. Everybody is going through this. Today you go into the market, the next minute you're seeing something else. Are just going basically,
by the minute.
Yes. However, the federal government has said that, irrespective of the report by the international community, that though it will soon come to an end, that hopefully things will be better. So we're looking forward to things getting better and food being affordable for the masses.
It needs to be, because
everybody.
I'm just wondering, like in fact, I don't even want to call them low income, but I mean the less of the less.
Yes,
because it's. I mean, I know. I think was it yesterday? There was a post that a woman was saying that you can make a proper stew with 10,000 naira. And I think Noboligwe also responded to her saying that you can't even make luxury stew, like you're rich and you want to make nice stew. 100K too, cannot do that.
That's
because
not true,
the cost of, no, I don't know what they're adding to it is like, okay, the gas that you use the gas to cook, transportation to the market, you know, all these other things that even if you've bought a couple of things in bulk, but when you now put all those things together, it just amounts to like, oh my God, where are we heading to? Everything is expensive. Everything.
Absolutely. So, Alero, your story is actually supposed to be confusion as linked SIM users lament inability to make calls. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, a lot of people have been barred. I think about how many million Nigerians from various networks, they've been barred from using their mobile numbers. So now, I think they try to link their NIM. They have already linked their NIM to their mobile numbers, but the thing now is, I don't even know if the telcos did not register the NIM properly, but at this moment, over 1 million Nigerians' phone numbers have been barred. And I mean, I'm hoping that it's something that the institution is actually going to work on as soon as possible, because I can imagine how many people have not been able to be contacted by their loved ones or even to do their businesses.
No, however, they can actually use their data. They can actually get incoming calls, but they can't dial out.
They can't.
So
Okay, they can receive calls, but they can't dial out.
They can receive calls. They can.
So
it's also good as
they were
not
kind
doing-
of tactical about it in the course
So, but
of
I'm
barring the
because I
line.
know that Nigerians, we don't have the enthusiasm to solve problems quickly. So I can see the way people were crowded at their office. So I'm wondering how long it will actually take them to resolve this, because I mean, people are really going through.
So the report is saying that okay, I think about some 75 million lines have been barred. It's about 75 million.
75 million.
Yes, 75 million lines.
Wow.
So let's see how that goes. All right, so my story is actually a video. If I can just quickly play that for me. I don't know who experienced the rain that fell.
Oh, we all
this morning.
did.
The rain.
Yeah.
See the accident where the thing caused. We gotta help people who don't inside me, they may not be say they die. Because this one fall on top of things. See motor where you fall on top with the drag come outside. This is Oregon. So what's that baby link bridge, that traffic light side? Where this one happens so. Nobody they go work. See time. 9 people full of Jota where they come. People full of outside where they come, where they try go work. But everywhere don't block and they feel no know it to happen. So share around, I beg.
All right, so the reason I actually drew the attention of this story from my what's in the news, even in my house, right, my area this morning, an electric pole actually, not even, so it's not even the wooden one, the one that is cast, the one that is concrete. It broke into two. That was how powerful.
Because of the
trees
wind.
fell on the, what's it called? So that wind was crazy.
Yes.
When I heard
right.
it this morning, I said, what's happening?
Actually, as of this morning.
Yeah, so the wind was quite heavy. And so for me, why I am drawing the attention to this as my what's in the news, given that billboard, we're going to have more of those, right? I mean, the weather has been crazy. We know of the climate change and all of that. So
Absolutely.
it means that we're going to expect heavier downpours, heavier wind. So the integrity of some of these billboards, I'm just calling on the government, because now I'm not sure if there was any casualty in terms of death.
Like human beings.
Right, human beings dying. But as at the time of filing this video, the LASEMA was there. LASEMA was there. The LRU, that's the what's it called now? The Lagos State LASA was there as well. LASA, the agency for the signages, the traffic management was there. The response unit, that's the LASEMA response unit, was also there for emergency response and all of that. So I'm happy that there was a prompt response. Again, because this is LASA, is very close to the government house. But I'm saying that if this can happen with something, most in my head, those things are supposed to be very strong, right? Well fortified and everything. So if it can happen like this with the wind that we experience today, can we start to just do integrity tests for most of those billboards, so we do not have the one that now kills people?
Right.
So that's why I actually I took my attention to this particular what's in the
So
news.
aside from the what's it called, the mast holding the billboards, I even noticed today as I was driving by that some of those billboards, that's the main image is bent and it's torn out or destroyed.
So even
actually,
with the drilling and everything, the welding, everything. Is like the wind was too strong, so it's like really shredding like paper.
In fact,
so it was quite windy.
And we're just talking about this one, what's it called? What the stand broke. We're not even talking about the flood in some areas, because I'm sure that some people's houses already flooded.
Of course, they can't go in.
Man,
that one
in
our area, we actually contributed to build our roads. We did the drainages, we did the roads, we did every single thing. So thankfully, issues of flood can tell you. But we'll take a break now. We want to discuss female sports and investment, right? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
All right, thanks for staying with us. It is arguably that a greater proportion of Nigeria's sporting success is attributed to women, both in terms of impact and sheer numbers. Nigerian women stack up immensely well against their male counterpart. In spite of this, there has been an almost systematic neglect of women in sports in Nigeria. The most obvious example, and this only because the most populous black nation in the world is obsessed with football, right? You know, is the Nigerian Super Falcons, and they are winning national football teams on the continent, yet they have not been acknowledged. They have represented Africa at every edition of the FIFA World Cup, Women's World Cup, since the inaugural tournament in 1991. With this amount of success, we are really, really curious to why women in sports who are obviously triumphing never get the attention, and how can we drive investment towards female sports in Nigeria. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. So I was going to ask you, how well do you think women's sports are supported in this country?
I mean, I don't think it's been supported enough, because if you ask a lot of females, they don't even know if there's female sports that's actually really functioning in Nigeria. And the only time you get to hear about it is probably when we have to go for maybe the Olympics or the World Cup and all of that. And for me, I was very...
And we're always qualifying.
In fact, this one that we didn't even... The fact that we didn't even qualify for...
the Super Eagles.
For the female, did we qualify?
Yes, now.
Oh, you did? Okay, so, I mean, you see...
Your life, you don't even know. That's my problem.
That's what I'm saying, that we were not paying... I don't want to say I am not paying attention to it, but if it's actually as prominent in the news or it's being talked about as much, I would know, and a lot of other people would know, because, I mean, I don't think they're throwing a lot of light on female
And that's
sports.
why we're here.
And in fact, when I saw the topic, I was like, haha. Oh, I'm really happy to see this, because, I mean, it may be to urge a lot of women in Nigeria to get involved in sports, because I know that, I mean, aside from the recognition and maybe some other benefits, it's actually really good for women to get involved in a couple of things that men are doing. So please,
let me bring in Lucy first before I ask.
Okay.
Don't worry, I would love our guests to discuss.
See your life.
You see, but you know this thing that Omar is doing.
But let me expose both of you. This is the reason I decided to choose this topic, and I put two of you inside this time, because the truth is that a lot of times we really do not even care.
No, it's not about we do not care. The key thing is that it's just like politics. When you want to listen to what is going on in the news with women, what you hear most of the time is the women who are in sports are not well taken care of.
No,
so
wait,
it's
wait,
all
it's not
about the
even that. So
negatives. It's all about the negatives.
So it's not even so much of negative for me.
Yes.
It's the fact that as women, right, you can imagine the shock that I felt that we have not lost any qualification of since 1991.
Imagine that.
Is it not the thing that we're supposed? So why are we not putting our money where the people are winning? So we're busy going to go and destroy stadium because somebody did not qualify. Right? It doesn't make any sense. So we need to ask our guests. Well, that's the first question we're asking. Bukola Olopade is a friend of the house. He's the CEO of NIL Sports Management Limited, a sports management and marketing company who has worked with some of the biggest names in the world of sports, like the IAAF, the CAA, and the AFN. He has also served in various leadership capacity as president of the Nigerian Wheelchair Basketball Federation, Ogun State Commissioner for Youth and Sports, and special advisor to Ogun State Governor on youth and sports. And he's joined us live in studio. Hey, Bukola. I'm super excited to be having you today.
You like to go down memory lane.
Yes.
Advisor.
Yes, no.
We
have to keep on reminding them why you are the don in this game. But thank you so much because you always make our time to discuss with us.
And it is always a pleasure to come on this table.
Oh, thank you.
You guys are amazing, always.
Thank you. Because you know, this women in sports is quite interesting. You know why I called you for this conversation? Because first of all, you take special interest in investing in women. As female athletes. I've seen it happen.
Thank you.
You know, so why are we not paying so much attention? Because give it to the women. Let's even pick first of all our football team, the Super Falcons. They are doing exceptionally well. And every time we're always hearing Super Eagles, Super Eagles, Super Eagles, Super Eagles. Super Falcons, they qualified. So what's the gap? Why is female sports not taken seriously as much as we take the male teams and all of those sports seriously in this country? What exactly is the challenge?
Thank you very much for this topic. And I think what the most typical example is what we've just seen on the table. Yeah. I've always emphasized the fact that girl power, feminism, women standing up for women lacks a lot of substance in this country. It is strange that a lot of women do not understand how much women have put into winning laurels for Nigeria. It is strange that you, my colleagues on this table today,
I mean, it's not something that we are proud of, but we are vulnerable enough to be honest about it.
And I respect.
Don't expose us too much.
And I respect that because in the Yoruba parlance, we Yorubas would say "Ile Latin Kesho Rode," which simply means charity begins at home. The people who should drive the trust and love and support for women sports have been corrected not to call it female sports. Women's sports are the women. And we have a lot of powerful women in corporate Nigeria today who should come out and put their money where their mouth is. Unfortunately, you've hit the nail on the head. There's a reluctance to support women's sports. Just as there's a reluctance to support the biggest sporting winning tool Nigeria has ever seen, para sports.
The women.
No, para sports. So
the Paralympics.
I know we're here to discuss women, but I'm telling you that these two categories of
They
sport
suffer the same fate.
Yes, and yet they bring you the biggest laurels. Wrestling, you think of Olagunroye. Athletics, you think of Ese Brume, Toby Amushon. Football, you think of Oshola. You think of success. I mean, they've won in Africa. The Falcons are the biggest winning machine in terms of laurels. They've won more Nations Cup than any country, male or female, ever put out there. Yes. And yet, as I just noted on one platform that I belong to, that it is time to stop crying over spilled milk. The Super Eagles painfully, my company lost millions of expected earnings for us not going to the World Cup. But immediately we changed our strategy, we changed our thought process to the women. To the women. And this was why when we signed the deal with Stanbic IBTC,
to support NFF and football. We were very glad that Bridget Oyefeso, the brand manager, and the MD, Dr. Shogunle, especially created a clause in the agreement for women sports journalists, because that is also an area that is suffering. And we must continue to look at bespoke investment of that nature to support women. I can go on and on. Do you know the under-17s have also qualified for India, or almost qualifying? Do you know the Falconets have also qualified for the World Cup? And the Falcons have qualified for the Nations Cup in Morocco, which will take them, I'm very sure, because 4 teams will be qualifying. Hello, I'm very sure the Falcons will be among the 4 that will go to New Zealand. And yet, and I'm not just talking about football alone, across the spectrum of sports, and yet, people are reluctant to invest in women's sports.
Whose role is it to invest in women's sports?
Every one of us, it's exactly what you're doing, and I applaud what you're doing. Call private organizations, because government, listen, I don't care what you say about government. Government puts equal money, equal spend for both male and female sports. That is why we get to hear about the successes that have been achieved. But the chunk of the money that has gone into women's sports has come from government. Government cannot do it alone. Ironically, I did not see the topic of this discussion today, but I had spent the whole of today visiting MDs of banks, of gaming companies, of some lifestyle companies, only because of the Nigerian women football and the Nigerian women league. And I sent you...
Yes, I was just going to ask you, what's the deal with 35 million deal that for Edo Queens? What's that about?
So I want to especially thank Engineer Adeleke, because a few months ago I called on Engineer Adeleke and I said, look, listen, we need to support the girl child. You spend too much money looking after sports here and there. He's just built a 4 billion naira sports complex in Osun State. Guess the people that are utilizing it, Osun Babes. I said, so if you're putting so much into women's sport locally, I need you to come and support the league. And the discussion was just for 10 minutes. And within 10 minutes, he committed 50 million to the women league. That is why the women league is working today, because of Engineer Adeleke and Peculiar. And to my greatest pleasant surprise, as I was driving to your studios,
that was when they just signed
I saw the breaking news
deal.
Today. The very hard-working deputy governor of Edo State, oh, by the way, your
state, yes,
who also has done so much for women football and women's sports, decided to pay him a visit in Osun State and secure a sponsorship deal for the Edo Queens, a team that is also doing very well. And for me,
so
today
Edo
is
Queen
just
is a football
one of the most successful in Nigeria.
Wow.
I mean, you need to look at states like Rivers State. You need to look at Delta State and look at what Tony Okowa is doing with women's sports. And that's why I said government keep piling a lot of money. Honorable Sunday Dari has done a lot for female sports, especially when you look at what the support is giving to wrestling, because of the women who are thriving there. Weightlifting, women are doing great things there. And that is why government will continue to play a role. But we need private organized companies to come and support women's sports, especially when you look at the amount of women who are in charge of sponsorship and brand management in various companies.
Usually, ironically, most of them are actually women.
90%. I mean, this is the industry that I work in.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, 90% are women. And when you discuss women sports and para sports with them, they'll be like, what is the return on investment? And this is why the gentleman I spoke with today from one of the gaming companies was very, I mean, it won my heart, because it is that we'll do CSR for para sports and we'll do
proper
investment for women's sport, women football, because of the quantum achievement that they've brought to the table.
See, okay, so how do we correct this narrative? Because yes, the women are successful, right, in this, especially with the football. Again, yes, I remember the Olympics one. A lot of women actually brought back, good medals.
Yes.
Well, how can we change this narrative? How can we put the women at the forefront? Do you think the patriarchal society that we belong to, do you think it has any effect on why this recognition is not even happening? Because we're doing exceptionally well. It's a no-brainer for you to invest your money. I mean, America, right? I think it was the US. The captain, she had been fighting, the football captain, she had been fighting for a long time for equal pay. And I think America just signed that deal, correct me if I'm wrong, where they would match their pay exactly. Because they are also doing exceptionally well. So just it's not even a Nigerian thing. They are also yes, it's a global thing. Yeah. They are doing exceptionally well, but they are not given the same recognition as the male football team that don't come back home with nothing, but they come back home with something.
Always.
Yes, all the time. So how can we correct that narrative?
Again, because I do not want us to mix issues. In Nigeria, there is a lack of enthusiasm for the support of women's sports. We all must come to the table and say enough is enough. Yeah. Women, for many years, women have come back home with the laurels that has eluded Nigeria at the Olympics, Commonwealth Games. And we can go on and on where Chioma Ajua is literally the only single gold medalist we've had in the Olympics, a woman.
Miriam Yali.
I was in Belgrade a few weeks ago. I was in the stadium when Ese Brumen literally sparked up the stadium with a jump, and everybody screamed, "Oh wow, where is this woman coming from?"
She's Nigerian.
We actually we were ahead of Great Britain and Canada and so many big countries just because of that one silver medal at the World Indoor Championships just a couple of weeks ago. I know people can even remember Ese Brumen achieved that feat. Because if we do, then we'll be anxious to want to put our money there. We'll be anxious to want to make Ese Brumen an ambassador of lifestyle industries, oil and gas, where she can talk about supporting the girl child, where she can talk about supporting the power of women, which we all must come to the table and not just pay lip service to, but ensure that things are happening.
We know what you need to take a break. There's a part you talk. You say brand ambassador. We'll come back to that. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Alright, so if you just tuned in, we're having an amazing chat with Bukola Olopade on driving investments towards female, or we call it women's sports, right, in Nigeria. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation, send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. You can also tweet at us at WayshoAfrica1 with the hashtag Wayshow. Alright, Isi, you were going to say something before we went on the break.
I was going to ask you what, you touched on something that had to do with brand ambassadorship, and I was going to ask you in terms of what are the ways that these individuals can actually step up to actually encourage the women in sports, because we do not have brand ambassadorship. They're not giving that cognizance.
Mentorship.
Be given.
Look, listen. In the final analysis, influencers have become a very important aspect of our day-to-day living, but they've always been. Mentorship has helped so many society to equip the younger ones for tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, I was just speaking to a gentleman this morning about how I needed him to mentor my daughters, who are 26 and 25, on how to understand the economy, how the economy of Nigeria works, so that because they want to come to Nigeria and invest and do things, and I'm saying you cannot do it without understanding, so you need to be mentored. Yes. And that is the same thing we can achieve by creating ambassadorial recognition and status for these women who are doing so well. I mean, not just women, including men. I mean, my own heart goes to the para-athletics. The para people, every year, every major competition, every major event, they come tops. I can tell you for free that only a few organizations have put their money to support then. I was the president of the Wheelchair Basketball Federation, where for many years we were able to raise a lot of money through my friend, Victor Oche, who just literally brought all his friends to fund that sport. But without moving away from the core discussion today, which is women, I just feel, and I get really emotional when I discuss this aspect of sports.
Yeah.
I just feel there is a reluctance to accept that this most success that we've achieved are coming from these two cadre of sports people. Because how else would people be crying?
So there's a reluctance, there's a resistance. Why is there that resistance? So you touched on ambassadorial stuff, and I was going to ask you that because again, even a lot of people have come under fire. I will not bring your own fire, but a lot of people have come under fire that you guys would prefer to pick up music artists.
My fire.
You will pick up music artists and make them your brand ambassador for a sporting event, right? You pick up what's it called, actors, actresses. You pick up the reality TV shows, but the real core people that are the sports people that you're supposed to make the face of the probably your events and all of that, we don't have that. So how else do you want to now encourage? Because you feel like maybe their brand is not big enough. You know, you cannot take away the fact that there's brand capital in when you want to pick up those ambassadorial positions. Yeah. But you are the one as the management that is supposed to build that brand capital. You literally, I see that there's a lot of laziness when it comes to that, because that is a big way to like pivot the what's it called, this lack of recognition that we are complaining about, right? If we start to pick the right people and make them brand ambassadors, you understand, it changes the whole narrative. It just takes them from here to here. People now begin to, you know, they're not curious to understand, okay, why is this person worthy of this? But you see, a lot of people are in charge of all those brand recognition and brand ambassadorial positions and all of that, or crowning or whatever you want to call the thing. They are very lazy. They'll rather pick someone that probably has, you know, a very big brand and all of that. They're not ready to work with some of these athletes from scratch, even though that the athletes are doing well. Ese Brume is one of you. I mean, you've been calling Ese Brume. She came back to Nigeria, you know, went on I think a church to take the medal because she felt like, you know, she had prayed for it and all. I mean, this girl brought back a gold medal.
Silver.
Or was it a silver medal? Silver. Okay, she brought back a medal. Let's just
no, a very important medal.
Yeah. So tell me, why has any probably energy company or whatever, why have they not picked her up as a brand ambassador? Or rather pick somebody that stayed 90 days in a house.
It is the same,
so why?
It is the same reason why Waze and Plus TV have not called her for an interview to showcase what she's achieved.
So he had to.
I remember that was what I started with. You, for example, I remember calling you one day when different women were calling me, have you seen what your friend posted? That means you're an influencer. You have a voice. You need to start talking about these women. Many of you women are doing great stuff with your own private pages on Instagram and Twitter. And let's all collectively talk about those women. Why are we still screaming about a World Cup that we are not going to? When we have women who are preparing July, just around the corner, qualified, so, all three categories, 17s, 20s, and the seniors. I mean, I'm sorry, again, from a success achieved by this same NFF, with a woman, again from your state, Aisha Falode, under the leadership of Amaju Pinnick, you can condemn Amaju Pinnick from now to tomorrow. That is your problem. But he has achieved a lot, placing emphasis and importance to women. As he organized the Aisha Buhari Women Football Tournament. To put in the right position the place of women and the successes they keep bringing to the table. And I don't care how people discuss it. I don't care if I'm going to get a backlash for saying this. We have 3 teams qualified. I can't be crying about the Super Eagles not going to the World Cup. I'm pained. I was pained, but I've moved on. I want to do business with women. I want to do business with the women of football. I want to bring money.
Okay, let me throw it back. Wait, now he's throwing back. Let me throw it back at you.
No, I mean, I agree with you that we're all guilty.
Wait, everybody will take a picture of the
But I am not.
Because let me ask you a question. Had the women had the sorry, Isi, had the men not qualified, would you have had time to say you want to now? Because it's almost like the women
first,
say, yes,
the men were the first people.
The men are always your first point of call. The women were now a second thought, like an afterthought.
When was the match against Ghana played?
About 2 weeks ago.
March. Nilayo signed the deal to support women football in December with Peculiar. Nilayo took women football to 5 different banks. Nilayo did over 15 presentations to organizations just for women. Aisha Falode will be the first to say that Nilayo is a pro-women company. Awesome. So I can never be guilty. And when I was commissioner for youth and sport in Ogun State, in the fourth, all my captains at the Ogun State teams were all women, always, because they lead well, they run things well, they made life easy. And when you come to Nilayo Sports Management Meeting, you were part of it. You know women have always taken the lead, not because of anything, but because they bring value to the table. They bring value. I mean, I'm not trying to patronize. I'm being real now. They bring value to the table, and it is high time we started supporting women's sports.
So I want to quickly find out, like, I mean, we're talking about the government or the the individuals that are basically supporting. How much energy are you actually putting to maybe like carry the media alongside with your activities? Because I mean, I know that right now the media is like the strongest means of tool at the moment, and the way we talk about these people inviting actors and musicians to attend their events, I'm sure the reason why they're doing that is because they are trying to get the fans of those people. Yeah. They're trying to get publicity. So I'm saying that as you're doing this hard work, as you're moving from one step to the other, if the media is actually following you back to back, we would all be informed, we would all be invested. Because I know that as much as people say women don't really support, as much as you put it in our faces, we are definitely going to like build or push that movement. So I feel like the media should get as involved as you are, so that every step of the way, as you're achieving your next hurdle, okay, in December this happened, but people didn't really hear about it. People didn't hear about it.
We got a lot of accolades from other media houses. I'm surprised. I'm sure your sports desk spoke about it. I'm very sure of that. But let me even shock you again. You know Sheyi Johnson, former CEO of Nilayo, project manager, who has now branched out to own his own sports management company, Brussels. The first project he undertook, Ogun Women Race, and is calling for cancer awareness. He's calling for violence against women awareness for his bespoke race. That means the mentorship I gave to him at Nilayo is again reflecting on women, the power of women in sports, and how we must use sports to empower women. So I feel morally, I have a right to scream out to every one of us to come out and support women's sports and women in sports. You underestimate how much good you're doing to society with what you put into play for women. Because in the final analysis, you guys are the controllers of nations and you're the controllers of homes. And until we start to empower you correctly and rightfully, we just continue to complain about our country, about our ways. I have a strong feeling that when the woman is given the chance to excel, Nigeria will be a better country.
I like the fact that you said women should be empowered. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, in terms
and women should empower women.
And women should empower women. However, I need us to throw light on scouting. How do you scout women? How do you pay more attention to women who are interested in going to the field of sports? Because back in the days, or I don't know how they do it now, but the bottom line is what they used to do is they take the men out, they get them to
I'm happy you said back in the days.
To play with to play in a game.
And
or
they
play
say
a
you
game.
Still and cook mom.
Yes, but the guys do this and they give them more attention when they're doing what they're doing, playing football or doing whatever they're doing, so that scouters can actually see them and use them to make more money or sell them to a club. So how do you introduce women to sports using scouters?
By giving the girl child the freedom to go out and excel in a giving skill and talent.
That has not answered the question. How do you lead them to get it?
It starts from the home. When you notice that your girl possesses a talent, allow her to go out and practice and get involved in competitions, and that child will be scouted. It is the same thing. It is the same system that is being used to scout boys, that is being used to scout. Aziz Oshola he plays in Barcelona. Let me shock you. Something strange happened 3 or 4 days ago. The El Clasico for women, Barcelona versus Real Madrid, was played in front of 91,535 fans. World record. So if you're watching me as a business person and you're not putting your money in women's sports, especially women's football, you are missing out in the money, the future money that is coming into the space. Watch out. The women game is going to shoot up, and those of us who are already in it will make more money when you are scrambling to come and join us.
So, I'm enjoying this conversation because it's really making me think deeper and, just wondering how best we can, make this as loud and as big as we should. I know that, in other countries like the US and the UK, secondary, high school students are being, nudged to be good at their grades so that by the time they're going to university, they get scholarships and all of that. We don't have that. So if it's possible for us to actually develop some type of system in the sense that these kids that are athletes that really, really want to, go into sports, people should actually, come to the secondary school. Like, let's start building the culture.
I agree with you.
Because it's something that these kids work hard because they know that, okay, we want scholarship. We want to go to good universities. We want to be able to get free tuition
so
all
there's an end
across.
game.
Do you understand? Because it's what everybody's looking out for. And most of these guys, they work so hard. They're training back to back to ensure that they qualify. And I think when they do all those school sports, like maybe inter-house sports or, some games between one school and the other, they always have scouters that come to those locations to ensure that, okay, from the young age, these guys are being... We have to do more.
Thank you for that brilliant analogy, because again, scouting starts from where they are playing and practicing school sports. For example, and I challenge you, S.A. Brume and Co. were scouted from schools. I was there. First time S.A. Brume jumped in Asaba, I was there as a schoolgirl. And you can go on and on. You discover that all the talent, male or female, were discovered from school sports. But remember the last time I was on this desk, we had a brilliant discussion on how the scholarship system must be introduced so that indigents, 80% of the people who play sports, I don't care what the sport is, are indigent boys and girls. And a lot of them are also academically gifted. But unfortunately, we've not created a system that would also give them the opportunity to play sports and still excel in their academics. And I agree with you, that needs to be done. I'm a businessman. I'm no longer in the system of making policies. And if I find myself in the nearest future in a position to make policies, hopefully one day soon, then such a thing will be visited by someone like me. But I agree with you. We're talking and people are watching. That needs to be done.
It needs to.
So in wrapping up this conversation, as we drive conversations towards, we must commend the companies that have so far invested.
Stepped up.
It's a huge investment. I think Stanbic IBTC, right?
Absolutely.
Did to the female. This new one you just sent to me now, the peculiar
engineering.
Engineering. So it's fantastic, right? So as we wrap up the conversation on investment, right, for women's sports, right? I'm just thinking in my head, how can we, because they're already successful, you said the Edo Queens are doing well and all of that, how can we start to organize internal engagement with the women athletes? So let's leave out maybe qualifying for World Cups, Olympics and all of that. The way you have your grassroots, thank you, the way you have your, what do they call them, the male team, canopilas and all of that, do we have those kinds of tournaments that we can start to push and say, you know what, so we can encourage, okay, the men are not watching, don't worry, we go and watch ourselves, play. Can we start to encourage and foster that internal sports within states, within, so that we have more awareness for this team and maybe more buying into promoting the woman brand.
And that actually is a fantastic point, because we do have competitions at elite sports for women. Now, your point is that, again, it goes to your topic. We need to put more money into organizing grassroots sports that are kind to women, that can make more girls, the girl child, be discovered as talented people.
Absolutely.
And I think there's an effort, again, from the part of government towards that. There's a huge effort going on towards that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, business is business. A lot of the organizations will tell you that, has she won the World Cup? Has she won this medal?
What has she done?
Until you win that thing, they don't want to be associated with you.
Even at that, the men, have they won?
And this was what I said.
But they're popular.
Well,
this was what I said to two of the potential investors in women's sports I spoke with today. I said, this is the time to own it. Grab it, put your money, now that it's obscured, so that when it becomes something that everybody starts talking about, you would have been the one who started it.
You tapped into it.
Yeah, it would have been a fantastic investment. I see light at the end of the tunnel if we keep this conversation and this discussion going. Athletics globally is doing a lot for equality, encouragement of women, and this is simply because superstar athletes have always emanated from women, from the days of Flojo, athletics, Flojo and co, coming down to the ones we have today, women, Felix and co, and the Jamaican female runners. Athletics have always insisted that if a man is making $10,000 from 100 sprints, a woman is making $10,000. That is why in all our marathons, from the Access Bank Lagos City Marathon to all the races we've done in Nigeria by my company, we've insisted on equal pay. If a man wins $50,000,
you have to match it.
A woman is winning $50,000. That is investing in women and ensuring that more of them take their potential skills and talents more seriously, so that they can become breadwinners for their families and become very popular influencers in their societies.
And can make whatever sports they are relevant in.
Absolutely.
Well,
okay,
so I have a comment. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying Ways. Concerning women in sports, I think they are not well treated. Look at, for instance, one of the football national team went for a tournament, and instead of appreciating them well and honorably with cash gifts and properties, they were given a mere handshake, just a common handshake. This is not fair at all. Women needs more encouragement to do more. My name is Daniel Hilo, Ways regular fan. Thank you so much, Daniel, for this. I mean, this is really, really true, because I mean, I can imagine after going through, your trainings and even winning something, and you're just giving me a handshake. Meanwhile, if it was probably in male sports, you would have,
You see the men cheering for them.
Again,
it's beyond that.
Again, government should be given credit.
Yes, government have
They've
done
always
well.
been equality.
I mean, they've given them houses.
The Tigers,
yes,
they were even more better compensated than the D Tigers, the male team.
Yeah, for the basketball, right?
Yes, yeah. So I do not agree with that.
Okay, we just
the one I feel we need to emphasize is that more corporate bodies should please come on board and support women's sports.
Yes. If they are asking for ROI, I mean, the question I want to ask them, what's the ROI investing in the man?
A lot.
You see your problem?
a lot, but I believe strongly that we can make more. Well. We can even make more by investing in women. That's my belief. And you asked a good question. Am I doing this because the male have fallen up by the side on the what? No. We've always wanted to put women sports in the forefront, because I see, and the brains at Nilion Sports Management would always tell you, we did a research. It was actually some gentlemen in the banking industry that commissioned us to do that research on football. When the sort of facts that we came across, the numbers we came across for women football was amazing.
Absolutely.
And like I said, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
If you don't join the train now,
you're going to miss out.
You'll miss out.
So that's your ROI there. Thank you so much. We just got a breaking news. The former President Goodluck Jonathan has been involved in a fatal auto crash with 2 people killed. But I think there's no... Although the former president escaped the death, he's said to be now safe in his home in Abuja.
Wow.
2 of his aides have died in the accident. This just happened. Returning from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Wow.
Wow, that's sad.
So we
but
just pray
thank
that...
God he's okay
yeah,
though.
But
the heart goes out to the people that
passed.
Family.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
That was an amazing conversation.
Yes, it was, and I'm really hoping that our audience, if there's anything you guys can actually do to support women,
let's start to put
I'm thankful I didn't taint your women in black with my white because I have a black hat.
Right. So before we go, do a show. Thank you, Isi. Thank you, Alera.
Thank you.
Before we go, ensure you follow us on Instagram at Wayshow Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, here it is again. It's a very short quote. Very apt. Sport has no gender.
Absolutely.
From Anonymous, right? So we can actually do well in sports, all gender. See you guys live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Also bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. From the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
জানে নাই যে সে তারা যেটা যাচাই করে নাই। আমার নাম মাহি, আমার যখন 11 বছর বয়স ছিল নিজেও জানি না। তারপরে আমি বলছি যে আমি এখন বিয়ে করবো না, আমি পড়তে চাই। আমার মারে বললো
bas pwede siya rupambia kuna mtu anakuja ndaombi kwa anataka kuoa huyu baba mzuri tu mdogo. Mimi nikafanyaje,
في arkishmika imermeza zake دائما میداد بازم من میکردم مادر هیچی نمیگفتم و هیچ کس هیچی نمیگفتم بازم به اون رقم تیر میکردم.
In 2018, Voice of America posted videos on social media of girls and women describing their experiences as brides and young mothers. The videos sparked a global conversation, receiving tens of thousands of comments and arguments for and against child marriage. Spurred by the overwhelming response, VOA journalists and photographers spent a year chronicling child brides around the world, putting faces and voices to a practice the United Nations is trying to eliminate by 2030. They focused on the worth of a girl and her value to two families, the one she leaves behind and the one she joins. What they found was troubling. In much of the world, child marriage is common and acceptable, and the lives of girls aren't worth very much.
به مکتب میرفتم صنف 7 بودم 10 روز بمونده بود که امتحانا سالان نخوابم که برم صنف 8 عروسی که بکردم دیگه نگذاشتم هر چی که من گفتم میرم به مکتب میرم امی خسور ما خوشی ما همگی گفتن که اگه تو بری به مکتب ما.
At 13, Samaya was a dutiful daughter and sister in Afghanistan, helping her family make ends meet. Her father sold her to an abusive relative for $3,300.
این مرمی زدک دو میداد باز همه به پدر مادر خود چی نمیگفتم به هیچ کسی چی نمیگفتم باز هم به مو رقم تیر میکردم همین تا با مشت و لغت و هردم مرمی زدم و دو میدادم فاش میگفتم مثلا اثری نمونه به جمله شلاقی چیزا نمیزدن که اثری بمونه.
Samaya represents child brides around the world, poor, powerless, barely educated, whose resistance to marriage is either ignored or overruled. Like most, she had no choice in the decisions made by the grown-ups in her life. She was a business deal.
کارا مارکی میکنم موتور بخریدیم و نمیگذاریم هم که میگفتم میرم مکتب و شومه و خوشومه و همه مرمی زدن که تو نمایی که بریم مکتب نمیگذاشتن.
Unë quhem Orkita Driza, jam martuar në moshën 13 vjeç e 7 muaj. Njëra nga motrat e mia që ishte, domethënë ishte më lart pak më e madhe se te unë, vuante me një sëmundje të rëndë, domethënë nga veshkat, të dyja veshkat I kishte jashtë funksionit për jetën, dhe ishte në rrezik vërtet për jetën. Dhe mamaja ime vendosi që të bënte motrën operacion, që të më martonte mua me dikë tjetër dhe të bënte motrën operacion, sepse ky njeri që më mori mua për djalin e tij kishte, domethënë, kishte muhabet shumë me doktorët e Durrësit. Ky ishte një detyrim ndaj familjes, edhe unë e bëra për hir të si me motre për të shpëtuar jetën. Më vajti vajza Bleona 11 vjeçe, edhe merrti dikush ma kërkoi po nga komuniteti, po ishte egjiptian. U detyrova, thash për mua si ta ketë shkujt është Zoti jetën, thash për paktën vetë di që të flej rrugëve, për paktën vetëm fëmijën ta kem të strehuar, sepse nuk njihja ndonjë këtu që ta mund ta strehoja fëmijën. Po faktikisht jam ndier shumë e penduar, por më bëri jeta, fatkeqësia e jetës.
Child marriage is not confined to girls in poor, developing countries or members of a certain religion or tribal custom. Even girls in the wealthiest countries, like the United States, are child brides.
I have 4 boys. I have a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Ashley got married under the mistaken belief that her 18-year-old boyfriend would be jailed for statutory rape of a minor in the state of Missouri. Ashley said 2 of her cousins, one a year younger than her, married soon after she did.
Good. I got married when I was 15. I just found out I was pregnant not long before I got married. My aunt got on the bus and she told me to get off the bus, that I was going to go get married that day. All I can remember is hearing all the kids gasp and was like, she's too young. We went to the courthouse and got our marriage license. And then we went to a preacher's house here in Steele, and he married us. I don't think either one of us realized how big of a commitment we were making then. No, that day I think I was happy, but I know there was definitely fear and doubt in my mind. I mean, I was happy that I was about to do what I thought was start a family, and I was excited more for the future than I think I was for the present.
عمر مې چې دی یو سال کېږي چې عمر مې دی 6 میاشتې کېږي چې واده کړی مې دی. دلته راغلی مور مې ډېرې قرض وکړي په قرض کې خلک باوې وړي. ژړل مې ټول خلک ته مې ول مجبور ولو نو سمو کال قرضاریان داسې مو ټینګ کړی و. بیا مو ټول ول چې قرضاریان دې ټینګ کړی دي پیسې نه لري ورکړه ول پیسې نه لري ورکړه خپل لور ورکړه.
In much of the world where marriage is a transaction marked by cultural expectations and traditions, young brides like Samaya and Bobogai pay the biggest price for their innocence, independence and freedom.
واده مې چې وکړ ژړل مې اوس 2 میاشتې کېږي خپل د خپل د میړه کور دلته راغلی یم. داسې راباندې کار ډېر کوي کار مې هم نه دی لږ زده نه دی دغه دپاره اوس دلته خپل مور سره راغلی مور مې لږ کار راته ښیي. ژوند مې مخ ته هم دغسې تماس سبا ووتم اپشین د عینونه 500 روپۍ 100 روپۍ 10 روپۍ کبال مې ټولول. دا چې واده مې وکړ په دغه ورځ مې واده ولا زه ولاړم کباړ ته ولاړم. کباړ مې ټولول کاغذان مې ټولول عینان مې ټولول خرڅ مې کړي نو ډوډۍ موډۍ راوړم دا کوچنی خوري چې خرڅ مې نه کړي دغسې تجه ناسته دی. ته اوس لنډې مرض لا لرم ساه مې چې ډېرې بندېږي دغه یخ چې کېږي داسې ساه مې بندېږي تمام ورځ په بستر یم تمام ورځ جګر خونې کوم او تمام ورځ داسې ورته زړه مې دغسې اور وایم واخیستی. મારી નંડી ઉંમર શાદી થઈ ગઈ તો મને છોકરી મને બાબે એ સોચા હોસી તો મને તો મને દિલા પાણી મને બાબે કે તો વડી થીસી તો પછી બલાવણ ડોહે ને વડા છોકરા બલાવણ અસારા નંડિયાલા રવાજ હા ને નંડડે ઉંમર તો શાદી कर छोड़े लिया नंडी उम्र दी कर नितला पीछे मेरे बाबे मना देती है मैं और मन जैसे तो पीछे मां तेरी शादी कर छोड़े सा.
Over and over, girls are forced to leave classrooms where they thrived and into marriages where most of them never wanted to be.
शादी का पहिरीं माना मां स्कूल वेंदी हुअमि त सुठो लॻंदो हो मां जब मां पढ़ां पोइ शादी खां पोइ मुंहिंजी शादी थी वई त पोइ मां चवंदमि पोइ बि मुंहिंजो शौक़ु आहे हो पर मां शादी के पीछे बि मां माना स्कूल माना शौक़ु आहे मेरा पढ़ण दा मां जब मां पढ़ां सारे छोकिरा इवें करंदा आहिनि दिला पाणी ते चवंदा आहिनि त शादी कर छोड़े. शादी खां पहिरियों माण्हू आज़ादु हो माना घर जो कमकार अपनी मर्ज़ी ते करंदी हुअमि पीछे वारा माउ पीउ वांदे करंदी हुअमि ना त अठे बैठी हूंदी हुअमि वांदी बैठी हूंदी हुअमि. शादी के पीछे वाला सॼी घर की जिम्मेवारी आ गई ना सॼी घर की जिम्मेवारी आ गई सॼे घर का कमकार माना बालों को संभालना पीछे भी मैंने घर वाले मैंने पीछे रोक छोड़ा घर की सॼी जिम्मेवारी आ गई अपनी दीदी शादी माना वॾी थी सी पीछे करवाई सा.
Growing up in poverty, the girls value an education.
Iya sih, takutnya gitu, yang ditakutkan. Dulunya sih sempat nangis gitu, mau udah saya tuh pengen sekolah aja dulu. Tapi kata maknya udah nggak ada biaya, jadi nggak bisa lanjut gitu. Kata orang tua udah gini aja, udah nikah aja. Baru umur anak dibikin cepet aja, anak umur 2 tahun saya udah ditinggal. Ya mungkin karena enggak terurus mungkin. Ya kayak sayanya kan belum bisa ngurus suami sama anak mungkin. Mungkin kurang diurus gitu, makannya, tidurnya gitu. Kalau saya kan pengennya bermain terus sama teman-teman.
To kamar da kika sani dai ban fara al'ada a lokacin ba, amma kuma sai ina gidan mijin na fara. To kuma dai da na zo haihuwa dai kin san yanayin da yaran karancin shekaru baka yi girman ma da zaka san menene matsalolin ciki ba, amma wurin haihuwa dai an sha wahala.
Khadija, a member of the Fulani tribe, comes from a family of clerics. At 13, she was 2 years younger than the age limit that girls in her family are married off.
Amma ba a yin sama da haka. To maganar kuma da kika yi min na cewa akai haɗi ne, to zan iya cewa haɗi ne tunda a lokacin ba zan iya tantancewa me ya so me ya kiyayya ba, kuma ban san ma ya so yake ba.
Throughout the world, young girls realize almost immediately the harsh realities of an early marriage.
Ai vërtet ishte I verbër, po ishte alkoolist, nuk rinte në shtëpi. Isha 13 vjeç e 7 muaj, ishte 24 vjeç në atë kohë. Martesa zgjati 15 vite, mbasi unë bëra 4 fëmijë me këtë që kisha. Dhe pastaj durova, I thash, u detyrova që ikë sepse nuk mund të rinja dot më.
আরে যখন স্কুলে পড়তেছিলাম, আজকে অন্য পর্যন্ত পড়তে থাকতাম, আজকে মানুষ এত লাঞ্ছনা, এত কথা, এত কিছু শোনা লাগতো না। ভালোটা চাকরি বাকরি করতে পারতাম, ভালোটা কাজ কাম করতে পারতাম, কিন্তু অথচ এখন মূর্খ দেখা, এখন পড়াতে দূরের কথা, এখন আজ পর্যন্ত আমার স্বামী আমার লাথি মেরে ফালাইতে গেল গা। আজ যদি পড়ালেখা থাকতো তো স্বামী যেতে পারতো না এরকম আমাকে ফালাইতে। আজকে যদি লেখাপড়া করতাম, 5টা জানতাম, বুঝতাম, শুনতাম, তাহলে আজকে আমার এই দিনটা দেখা হইতো না। একমাত্র বাবা মার ভুলের কারণে আর বিয়েটা হয়ে যাওয়ার কারণে আজকে আমি এই রাস্তায়, আজকে আমি এই পথে।
خودنا که همه بی سواتا ایران گفتم مام تو رو نمیگذاره مکتب، اگه تو بری کارام که میکنه. بعد از عروسی هم می شوهر مخود بدور مادر پیش میکرد، پیار پیش میکرد. مکتب خو همه می دوران طفولیت خورد است. من مکتب خوش دیدم که
is about more than just sitting here and talking about women's issues. It's about listening to them
and bringing their opinions to the table and making sure their voices are heard.
Because our lived experiences, our stories, and our voices will help shape the next generation.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. Every week, connect with our experts. You can ask them your questions and get their advice. Join me, Lina Humudu, in Washington on Healthy Living, your new health program, right here on Voice of America.
In a village in Tanzania, faced with the prospect of being married off to a stranger, 14-year-old Mwana Hamisi took control of her own destiny. She said no.
Siku hiyo ikatokea shughuli, kaenda pale katika shughuli za tuseme za shule za graduation, nikaenda tukafanya sherehe, nikasikia kama mtu na umri mdogo anataka kuolewa. Fika kituoni, akataja zile namba za simu, nikachukua zile namba nikaziandika, nikaondoka zangu nyumbani.
nimelia. Mama akasemaje, nenda. Nikaondoka zangu. Niliondoka zangu hivyo siku ya pili ile yule bibi akanipa ile simu ili niwasiliane na yule bwana. Aliponipa ile simu mimi nikaichukua ile simu, nikadhalika zile namba, nikaanza kuwasiliana na polisi. Nikawasiliana nao, kananiambia inabidi ulipate hilo jina la baba na hizo tarehe. Kufika siku ya pili nikamuuliza mama, mimi nauleta tarehe ngapi? Akaniambia tarehe kuhusu ananioa nani? Akaniambia hivi vinavyokuhusu wewe hapo kaa. Akaja mwenyekiti wa mtaa. Ulipofika usiku akaja mwenyekiti wa mtaa, akasema wewe ndo Damwana? Nikamwambia ndio. Akaniambiaje, sisi tumepata taarifa kutoka kituoni kama wewe unataka kuolewa. Kweli wewe? Nikamwambia kweli. Kwa mwenyewe na mimi sitaki kuolewa. Basi mwenyekiti tena akatumwa aende kule eneo la tukio. Akaambia hii ndoa isitishe.
She now lives in a shelter with other vulnerable girls and dreams of a career in fashion. Despite a worldwide acceptance of child marriage, the young brides realize their own self-worth. Girls marry for a number of reasons. But what about old-fashioned love? As the saying goes, it's complicated. Estrella was in the 6th grade when she fell in love. She married her boyfriend over their parents' objections. In Mexico, roughly 1 in 4 girls is married or in a live-in relationship by age 18.
Me llamo Estrella Belén Estrada Rodríguez, tengo 13 años, iba de segundo grado de la secundaria, sino que lo pensaba por mi escuela, pues, pero como lo quiero mucho, sí quería estar con él. Cambió pues porque estudiaba y llegando pues ya estaba todo listo. Ya ahorita pues tengo que atender a mi esposo. Me levanto temprano a darle pues su café para las 5:40, 6. Ya después empiezo a limpiar la casa, lavo los trastes, lavo su ropa, todo, ¿no? Y ya le ayudo a mi suegra a hacer pues el desayuno para que aprenda yo a cocinar, pues, más que nada, porque como no muy sé, pues, ya mi suegra me enseña. Pero ya me estoy acostumbrando.
Okay, I live in Dyersburg, Tennessee. I work all the time, take care of my baby and the husband. That's about it.
At 16, Katie married a man twice her age. Her mother signed the marriage license.
I got pregnant underage, and that was kind of what had us go ahead and get married so I wouldn't send him to jail. A lot of people look down on him for it and stuff, you know, but like I told him, I don't care what anybody thinks. I love him, you know, it is what it is. I mean, we're like any other marriage couple. We've had our problems. I mean, we split up. I went and stayed with them for a little bit, but we just know we want to live with each other. We want to be with each other, you know what I mean? So we work through our problems. I couldn't live without him.
Sultan in Turkey can relate to that. Now nearing 60, hers was an arranged marriage. She has 2 sons and no regrets.
Güzel bir şeydi. Bilmiyorum. Ben de çocuktum. Beraber büyüdük oğlumla. Ama eşimi hiç tanımamıştım, bilmiyordum. Zamanla biz birbirimizi tanıdık. Şimdi çok mutluyum, çok şükür. Yani iki tane aslan gibi oğlum var. Güzel bir yerdedirler. Eşimle beraber yaşıyorum.
مدتی که اونجا در خانه بودی 1 سال ادعا می‌کنی و در خانه بودم برخورد اینا با تو چطور؟
عکس‌ها خلیجه ببینم اونو ندارم.
هیچی بودم.
8 months after her first interview, Samaya is transformed. She is divorced and living at home, away from the beatings and violence of her in-laws. Her father was sentenced to 2 years in jail for forcing her into marriage. She's happy and healing and wants to learn to read the Quran.
اونا دارن زندگی خور میکنم، من زندگی عادی خور شروع کردم، خیاطی میکنم، من مادر یک براری دارم، برار من فعلا به شرکت مایه بره کار میکنه، دیگه کسی نیاز ما که مثلا نوار خانه ما فقط مانه، اول خدا بعد از ما برار مینه کلا نمینه، پدر ما کارم نمیکرد. بله فعلا بیتر شده، حالا که پیام نیم خب کل بیتر شده، بخاطر از اینکه پیام که به جنگ دعوا میکرد و چه میکرد، همون پولی که ما خیاطی کردی از ما میسون، به این واسه از اون لحاظ خیلی خوب. خونه دیگه مو خیاطی مانه که مثلا اپرانه که بیارم برای ما خیلی میارم، بیشتر خیاطی و پیش مانه.
Na nikaendelea kusoma ile shule tuseme. Ndoto zangu nataka niwe mwana design mzuri.
Anak gitu, udah jangan sampai kayak saya gitu. Harus diperjuangkan anak.
What about your microphone, Mama?
It just stays there.
Why?
It just does.
Nie minuty, to po Jeru.
Unë martova se mbeta në rrugë, ku mund ta çoja unë vajzën time. Pra ma kisha në një shtëpi me vajzën, kisha një shtëpi personale siç jam këtu për shkak. Me vajzën time, normalisht unë do ta arsimoja fëmijën. S'kishte nevojë vajza im për burr 11 vjeçë, 12 vjeçë, 13 vjeçë. Ta arsimohesh, të shkonte në një punë, të punonte për veten e saj në një kurs.
Happy unions for every Katie and Sultan who found love, comfort and stability. Millions more are like Khadija and Orkida who don't know what love is.
Unë I bëj një mesazh të gjithë këtyre nënave, vërtet ne vetë jena martuar në një moshë të vogël, por të paktën fëmijëve tanë t'i japin një arsimim të mirë dhe fëmia mund të martohet në një moshë e pakta 20 vjeç, e pakta.
তাই আমি সবার কাছে বলবো একটা কথাই কমু যে আমার মতো আমরা চাই না যে কোনো মেয়ের বাবা মা কোনো মেয়েকে অল্প বয়সে বিয়ে দিয়ে কোনো মেয়ের পড়ালেখা নষ্ট করুক বা কোনো মেয়ের জীবনটা নষ্ট করুক।
I do regret, not finishing school, growing up way too fast. That's just stuff you shouldn't do when you're a kid, honestly. I see that all now. I didn't see it then, though, and you can't change it.
Ending marriage before 18 is one of the United Nations' 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It asks that governments, civil society organizations, religious and community leaders and families work together to re-evaluate the worth of their goals. It's a community effort, it's a country effort, it's a global effort.
So if somebody would have had a similar story to mine and would have told me, I wish that would have happened for me. I wish I had somebody to tell me that I was making the wrong choice.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
On Plus TV News Now. President Buhari signs executive order on compulsory maintenance into law. FG approves the establishment of 12 new private universities. Burkina Faso's former leader Compaoré is sentenced to life in prison over Sankara's murder. Good evening. I am Maureen Menongwe-Zigwe, and this is News Now. President Muhammadu Buhari has signed Executive Order 11, which mandates the government to institutionalize maintenance of public buildings into law. Signing the law just before the commencement of the weekly virtual Federal Executive Council meeting at the Presidential Villa, the President directed all ministries, departments and agencies of government to set up maintenance departments in line with the provisions of the new executive order. Buhari pointed out that the maintenance of public facilities has gone beyond just a culture, but an economy, providing employment for a good number of Nigerians. He said the order now gives legal backing to the country's national maintenance policy, following its earlier approval by the Federal Executive Council. The Federal Executive Council has approved the issuance of provisional licenses for the establishment of 12 private universities across the country. Minister of Information and Culture Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who disclosed this at the end of Wednesday's council meeting, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja, said the affected universities will be located in Kano, Niger, Gombe, Sokoto, Delta, Abia, Anambra, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Mohammed said each of the new universities will be mentored by the old universities nearer to them, and that establishment of additional universities for over 200 million populated country was necessary if the policy of educating a larger percentage of youngsters was to succeed. And in a related development, the Senate, following the consideration of a report by the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TET Fund at plenary on Wednesday, has passed the bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Transportation in Daura, Katsina State. The chairman of the committee, Senator Ahmed Baba Keita, APC Katsina, in his presentation said the establishment of the university would allow Nigerians access to modern technology, emerging techniques and skills in the transport industry. According to him, the institution will provide the required knowledge to prospective students to enhance Nigeria's transportation sector and make them drivers of the industry. The Senate has considered a bill sponsored by Senator Suleiman Umar, APC Kwara, seeking to establish the National Religious Harmony Commission, as it has passed second reading during plenary. Leading debate on the general principles of the bill, Umar said the United Nations Charter and several provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended were based on the principles of the dignity and equality of all human beings, that the UN Charter sought the promotion and respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction to race, sex, language, or religion. The bill, after consideration, was referred to the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters for legislative input and was given 4 weeks to turn it in its report.
Are based on the principles of dignity and equality of human beings and seek, among other basic objectives, the promotion and respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Having realized the sensitive role of religion in national security, peace, and harmony, the federal government wishes to promote interreligious harmony and understanding due to the checkered history of religious intolerance in Nigerian polity. The bill seeks to create an enabling environment for the peaceful coexistence of all adherents of different religious beliefs within the Nigerian nation, and as well provide for a forum for public enlightenment and dialogue on to limit controversy and confrontation over allegations of discriminations based on religious beliefs and identities.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the National Religious Harmony Commission and for other matters connected thereto, 2022 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters for further legislative action to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
The federal government has lifted a nationwide midnight curfew and limitations on gatherings, along with other restrictions imposed more than 2 years ago to curb the spread of coronavirus. A statement issued by the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 states that the removal of restrictions was decided in view of the declining number of cases, reduced risk of importation of new variants, as well as the availability of vaccines. The government encourages private companies to continue implementing measures to limit the spread of the virus at work, and also instructs civil servants to go back to their offices. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, has made a haul of 1,399 kilograms of drugs in Kaduna in March, sealing a shop and 4 houses in the process. Commander of the NDLEA in the state, Umar Adoro, gave the breakdown of drugs seized as 997.121 kilograms of Indian hemp, 342.329 kilograms of other psychotropic substances, 0.027 kilograms of cocaine, 0.036 kilograms of heroin, and 59.382 kilograms of tramadol. Adoro said 3 of the houses sealed are located in the Rigachikum area of the state, while the 4th was in the Angwan Megero area. A presidential aspirant, Professor Christopher Imomolen, says Nigeria's challenges cannot be solved by an individual, but will require the input of genuine-minded individuals. Imomolen, who made this known after a closed-door meeting with Nigeria's former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, said he will be bringing his private sector expertise to bear. He said the visit became imperative to tap from the former president's wealth of experience with a pledge to help solve the country's challenges.
The solution to the challenges we have, which I know, can only be fixed by one person like me, who really have not stained himself with the game of politics. One who is coming from a technocrat background, who has succeeded privately, who have a track record. I know that many Nigerians may be seeing my face new, and that is even more important and very, very good, because for a fresh face like this, who have gotten so much experience from the private sector, I think Nigeria can be saved by someone like me, because I am neutral, I have the willpower, I can deliver, I can make decisions for the masses. I would not be making decisions that will solve the problem of this country by considering fewer numbers of persons. You know, Nigeria problem cannot be solved by one man, but can be solved by a group of genuine-minded people.
The presidential hopeful also challenged the youth to get involved in governance in order to change the country's narrative.
We all know, every Nigerian wants a new face. We are tired of the old faces. And if we keep talking about we are tired and nobody's taking action, it's as if we don't know what we are doing. So if Nigerians are crying out there that they want a new face, they want someone who has succeeded privately, you know, it is no time for us to be sharing our track record. We can check them out there. And I represent that face. I represent that face of hope. I represent that face that will change the narrative for the Nigerian.
The former senator representing Rivers Southeast Senatorial District, Magnus Abbey, says President Muhammadu Buhari is yet to anoint anyone as his successor. Senator Abbey said this following reports that the president has chosen an influential member of the APC to succeed him. Speaking with his supporters in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Senator Abbey advised those jubilating that Buhari's successor has emerged not to be deceived by any politician.
President Buhari has not mandated anybody to go and tell people that he's the anointed successor. Anybody who is carrying that story is carrying a false rumor, and you will see it in the end. Within the next 3 to 4 months, by the INEC timetable, all these kitty kata 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 that you're seeing everywhere, everything will calm down.
He also advised his loyalists not to be discouraged by whoever is occupying position of the South-South representative in the APC at the national level.
What we want is a chairman that will look at the rights and interests of all members of this party and give everybody a fair chance. That's all we're asking from the party. If another person has the opportunity or the privilege to go and do the job, they simply do it according to what the constitution of the party prescribes.
Earlier, the factional chairman of the APC in the state, Golden Chioma, said he remains the recognized state chairman of the party. He explained that the national leadership knows that the state chapter is still factionalized despite the convention.
The party is aware that the state called River State is still factionalized. They are aware. They are also aware that they need to do things fast in River State so that we'll all come together. Are you aware? Where we are now is that the state party, the party in the national must speak that the River State must be allowed to produce candidates that can win the election and not a candidate that suits the whims and caprice of an individual. We have passed that stage.
A group referred to as Arewa Alliance has started canvassing for the Southeastern presidency in 2023. The group said the only way the region could feel safe being a part of the country is by producing the next president to heal the wound earned in the 30-month civil war and the agitation for the Biafran Republic. Speaking at a press briefing in Yola, the leader of the group, with membership across the 19 northern states and beyond, urged the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari as his emergence will further unite Nigerians. Convener of the Arewa Alliance for Emefiele for President 2023, Dauda Ponushu, said Emefiele has positioned himself as a vision-driven and target-focused leader who would help the youth unleash their creative talents and become better citizens and sterling ambassadors beyond the shores of the country. Other speakers at the occasion said Emefiele has demonstrated the ability to turn the country's fortunes around and build on the foundation created by President Muhammadu Buhari.
At least to even put the issue of agitation, this issue of zoning to put to rest, that is a very good reason why we should take this thing to the southeast. They have been agitating for this particular leadership to come to their zone, which we believe in Nigeria, the oneness of Nigeria, the unity of Nigeria. This is a simple reason why we said. We are not saying he's better than any other person, but we know of his capabilities and we have trust in him, we have confidence in him. If only he will accept to run, we will give him our support and Nigeria will be proud of.
Currently, we have President Muhammadu Buhari, who is also from the north.
Seeing that the North has held power for a long since independence, now we want the power to shift to the South, particularly Southeast. That is why, so that to show that we are still one Nigeria, that's the administration. And to that Southeast, we have seen that there are many people there. Out of them, some of them have shown that they can actually lead us in this country. Economically, they have that capability. We are talking of the person of Dr. Godi Emefiele being the current CBN governor, and his initiative on monetary policy and other policies that make Nigeria to stand the test of COVID-19, the test of inflation, the test of economic recession.
Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra State has set up a 15-man Truth, Justice and Peace Committee to help address rising cases of agitation, insecurity and other challenges in the state. The committee, with Professor Chidi Odinkalo and Bianca Ojukwu as chairman and secretary respectively, also has other notable sons and daughters from the 5 southeastern states of Abia, Imo, Ebonyi, Enugu and Anambra. Secretary to the state government, Professor Solo Chukwu Lobelu, who announced this in a statement, gave the time frame from inauguration to completion of the assignment as 6 months. Chukwu Lobelu said that the purpose in terms of reference of the committee includes seeking a restorative justice approach for truth-telling or real facts for the healing of the victims of the violence. The Speaker of the Imo State House of Assembly, Kennedy Ibe, APC Obowo, has declared vacant the seat of Obinna Okwara, representing the Nkwere constituency, following a motion moved by Blyden Amajironwu, APC Ngo Okpala, and seconded by Chiji Collins, APC Isiala Mbano. Amarijong said that Okwara had defected to the People's Democratic Party in contravention of Section 109, subsection 1G of the Constitution, which stipulates that no member should defect to another party before the expiration of his tenure if his election was sponsored by another party. He also presented pictorial and video evidence of Okwara's defection, which was played on the floor of the House. The House of Representatives has observed that the reassignment of dormant and inactive phone lines by telecommunications companies without recourse to previous owners has led to a breach of privacy. The resolution was sequel to a motion from Steve Fatoba on the need to protect telephone subscribers from breach of privacy, fraud and loss of money. He explained that Nigerians have fallen victims to illegal withdrawals from their accounts because their banks keep sending transaction details of their previous phone numbers, which have been reassigned to new subscribers. The House therefore passed a resolution mandating its Committee on Telecommunications and Committee on Banking and Currency to look into issues of breach of privacy and identity theft.
Concerns that in spite of the regulatory frameworks in existence, the occurrence of a breach of privacy cases of fraud and consequently financial loss are on the increase. Also concerns that many Nigerians are falling victim to illegal and unauthorized deduction of funds from their bank accounts because their financial institutions keep sending their bank account transaction details into their Itato phone numbers, which have been reassigned to new subscribers, thus opening a dangerous window for fraudulent activities.
The Delta State Governor, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, has said that the only way to reduce road crashes in Nigeria is for it to be treated as a national emergency. Okowa made this statement at the 2021 Road Marshal Assistant Drivers Basic Course Passing Out Parade held at the Federal Road Safety Corps, Marshal Inspectorate Training School, Owa Alero, Ika Northeast local government area of the state. Our Sabah correspondent Friday Akmamejero reported that Governor Okowa said his administration was proud to have made modest contributions to road safety in Nigeria.
It is my considered view that the issue of road safety should be treated as a national emergency. There are just too many people dying from avoidable road accidents. to drastically reduce the number of accidents on our roads. Public enlightenment is crucial. I dare say that most drivers on our roads, commercial and private, are not conversant with road signs and safe driving habits. It is going to take more than sanctions to curb the indiscipline and recklessness on our roads.
In a bid to checkmate the excesses of oil thieves and oil bankers, as well as ensure that critical national assets in the state are safe from economic saboteurs, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps River State Command has arrested 14 suspects for unlawful dealings in petroleum products. The report.
The state commandant, Abu Tambuwa, said the arrests were premised on the renewed vigor and strategic effort put in place by the command to combat the menace of oil theft, illegal refineries, oil bunkering, and illegal dealings in petroleum products in Rivers State.
This arrest was made possible as a result of the marching order given by the commandant of the River State Command, Commandant Abu Tambuwa, who has reiterated in his assumption of office that the war against illegal bunkering in River State is non-negotiable.
While reaffirming the command's continued synergy with relevant sister agencies, the commandant issued a stern warning to economic saboteurs in the state, stating that they either engage themselves in legal ventures or risk facing the full wrath of the law.
I'd like to hint to the general public and the gentlemen of the press that all these suspects will definitely be charged to court at the expiration of a thorough investigation. I want to use this opportunity to call on the good people of River State to collaborate with the NSCDC River State Command by giving us credible intelligence, because safeguarding critical national assets and infrastructure is a collective responsibility. Let me also finally issue a stern warning to economic saboteurs in the state. I advise you to engage yourself in legal ventures, legal businesses, or you risk facing the full wrath of the law.
Commandant Abu Tambuwa urged residents to cooperate with the command by supplying adequate information that will assist the civil defense in achieving its core mandate in the Niger Delta region.
Following the scores of building collapse in Nigeria, an expert in building, Professor Kunle Adi-Wahab, has pointed out that the sector of the economy is marred with unprofessional practices and regulatory compromise. In an exclusive interview with PlusTV News, Professor Wahab touched on the housing deficit in Nigeria. Our correspondent Jacinta Obiuku reports.
All over the world, building collapse is not new. However, human factors such as negligence, flouting of building codes, use of defective or substandard materials, incompetence and corruption are said to be responsible for the damage. For instance, in Lagos, the city is often referred to as construction site, given the volume of building projects progressively taking place at various sites across the megacity. Professor Kunle Wahab is a professor in building. He spoke on the incessant building collapse.
It's not all the buildings that collapse that ought to have collapsed. There are some stresses, things that you can see deficient in building that can be corrected while the building is still going on. But these days, for what I can call irregularities, people who don't want to fulfill all the righteousness in construction, they may be doing something prematurely. And the people who are supposed to supervise, they are not forthcoming. Or, I want to use the word that people have paid for non-coming, but they'll still sign that they come and seen it and it's okay.
Chapter 59, Section 74 of the Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law of Lagos State 2010, which was signed by the former governor, Mr. Raji Fashola, although now amended, states that in the event of the collapse of any property or structure due to negligence on the part of the owner or the developer, Such property shall be forfeited to the state government after due investigation or publication in the state official gazette. But to today, nobody has been prosecuted for building collapse or the building sites taken over by the government in accordance with the established position of law.
Designers of buildings and those who are like contractors are executing the building have to be competent people that not only knows what goes into the structure, but where you can avoid, adopting cutting corners.
Professor Wahab also hinted on the issues of spaces in structures and urged government to go beyond paperwork.
Not every house should have shops and of different characters in front of their, buildings, because they will add, whether we like it or not, to the overloading of building itself.
The Building Control Agency is required to conduct periodic inspection of building developments within the state to identify defective and distressed structures and has the power to demolish buildings that do not conform with the regulations and planning permits. Jacinta Ubiuku, PlusTV News.
And as power supply continues to get worse, Nigerians speak out in anger, and that's on Street Views. Take a listen.
I burn generator from almost on daily basis. I mean, by the time I calculate the money I spend for fuel on daily basis, and I honestly tell myself the truth that this power issue is something else. It's really dealing with us Nigerians.
This thing is affecting so many companies. My daughter has a company. I know how many fuel we run every day. People that cannot afford such, they end up packing up and going to other countries. Can I say in a month we'll have like 3 times? Is that power supply? So every day I burn fuel. Every day I buy fuel 2,000 in my house. It's very ridiculous.
We are being cheated. There is no light. I live at Ikoyi. They don't give us light. Like 3 times a week, and it's about 2 to 3 hours, and it's gone. There is money in this country, but we don't know where the money is going to. No water, no light, no good roads. What can we do?
It's affecting me. It's affecting me. See me as I'm sweating. If I bath finish like this, I begin sweating. In the evening, sweating. Midnight, sweating. All my children, they are sick now. No lights, and they are still bringing the bill. Where is the money? And now, the bill is high. What are we using? Fan, television. So it's finished. I'm fit. I'm not using an oven. I'm not using washing machine. And they are bringing crazy bill for what? And no light. We are suffering from this Nigeria.
There is no light in my area. No single light. But we are paying for light, but we never see light. Sometimes, once in 2 weeks. Sometimes you will not even see it.
Still ahead, rights group says that Ethiopia subjected Tigrayans to war crime abuses. Details when we return.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Welcome back. You're still watching News Now on Plus TV Africa. Burkina Faso's former president, Blaise Compaoré, has been sentenced to life imprisonment for complicity in the 1987 murder of his predecessor, Thomas Sankara, in a coup. The charismatic Marxist revolutionary Sankara was gunned down in the West African nation's capital, Ouagadougou, at the age of 37, 4 years after he took power in a previous coup.
Burkina Faso's ex-president Blaise Compaoré was sentenced in absentia to life imprisonment on Wednesday for his role in the 1987 murder of his predecessor, Thomas Sankara, in a coup. Mariam Sankara, wife of the assassinated leader, after the military tribunal's verdict was announced.
I think that now the people of Burkina Faso and the public opinion know who Thomas Sankara is, who is the man, who is the politician, what he did, what the people who assassinated him want. From that point of view, I am relieved because we know who he is.
Compaoré went on to rule for 27 years before being ousted in another coup in 2014 and fleeing to Ivory Coast, where he is still believed to live. He was found guilty on an attack on state security, complicity in murder and concealment of a corpse. Two of Compaoré's former top associates were also sentenced to life imprisonment. All three have previously denied involvement in Sankara's death, along with 11 other defendants accused of plotting the assassination. 3 of the 11 were declared innocent, and the rest received between 3 and 20 years. The charismatic Marxist revolutionary Sankara, who gained a reputation as Africa's Che Guevara, was gunned down in the capital Ouagadougou at the age of 37, 4 years after he took power in a previous coup. He won public support in the impoverished nation by selling a government fleet of Mercedes, lowering the pay of well-off public servants and forbidding first-class state travel. He cut down his salary, refused to work with air conditioning, and jogged through Ouagadougou unaccompanied. Critics say his reforms curtailed freedoms and did little to enrich ordinary people. But admiration remains, and justice has long been awaited by Sankara's family and supporters.
The Burkina Faso Diocese and the Archdiocese of New Orleans have said that unidentified armed men have kidnapped an 83-year-old religious sister who was serving as a missionary in the West African nation of Burkina Faso. Bishop Theophile Nare of the Kaya Diocese said Maronite sister Solène Tennyson was abducted late Monday or early Tuesday by men who also vandalized the convent in Yalgo. Archbishop Gregory M. Emond said Tennyson had been a missionary in Burkina Faso since 2014 and that officials do not know where she has been taken to. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch said Tigrayan civilians had been targeted in a relentless campaign of ethnic cleansing in the long-contested Western Tigray region since the outbreak of Ethiopia's war in November 2020. Over the ensuing months, several 100,000 Tigrayans were forcibly expelled from Western Tigray in a coordinated manner by security forces and civilian authorities through ethnically motivated rape, murder, starvation, and other serious violations.
We've spoken to forensic pathologists that examined photos and videos and observed bodies with gunshot wounds, one body with injuries which suggest chopping with blunt instruments. Also, those involved in the retrieval observed some bodies had their arms tied to their back with electric wires.
Today, we believe that there are still thousands who are in detention centers in life-threatening conditions because many former detainees tell us of prisoners who are dying because of the abuse they have suffered.
Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch are calling for any consensual agreement between the warring parties to include the deployment of an AU-led peacekeeping force with a very strong civilian protection component to help ensure the protection of this population.
Fighting between M23 rebels and the National Army has resumed in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. According to a representative of a civil society group, Kinshasa's military attacked all of the group's positions in Musangati, Chanzu, and Ruyoni, which are all hills in the Rushuru territory. According to him, fighters of the M23 movement have moved towards the Ugandan border. And in Senegal, when the water well began to run low in this remote village in northern Senegal in 2010, the government drilled another one, fit with a shiny metal hand and a sign commemorating the investment. Today, residents say it barely emits a trickle.
Mother of 5 Drem wakes up before dawn to bottle what's left of the water from an old well before it runs out, as it does by mid-morning every day. When the water well began to run low in her remote village in northern Senegal in 2010, the government drilled another one, fitted with a shiny metal hand pump. Today, residents say it barely emits a trickle. The community raised $5,000 for a new one last year, but it failed to hit water.
What's difficult is the scarcity of the water. We don't drink when we are thirsty. We don't wash our clothes. We are herders. If you don't give animals enough to drink, they will die. The same with children. They will die if you don't give them enough to drink. Water scarcity is hard. We want help to get water. We don't sleep at night. We leave our children at home to fetch water. From very early in the morning until now, we are looking for water. The day we have regular water, we will thank God.
The community resorted to digging pits in dry riverbed a few miles from the village and collecting brown water that seeped into them. Children gulp it down, even though it makes them sick. 2 studies last month touted groundwater as an answer to water shortages in sub-Saharan Africa, a potential lifesaver for millions in a region expected to be one of the hardest hit by climate change. According to British Geological Survey, Senegal is home to an underground aquifer that rainfall has kept well stocked in recent decades. But in Troames village, where temperature can soar above 123 degrees Fahrenheit, defunct wells dot around the hostile landscape instead. It reveals just how costly and difficult tapping those reserves will be. Experts say hydrogeologists trained at locating groundwater are in short supply. If water is found, some of the most reliable aquifers can be more than 1,300 feet down, 10 times the depth of the wells in Troames village. Drilling a hole that deep costs about $20,000. Faber Douf, the local coordinator of an NGO called Uviv that has set up a pipe extension to a village in the area, says more studies need to be conducted on the field to make sure communities do not drill in vain.
And going outside of Africa, Russian missiles have destroyed an oil depot in the Dnipropetrovsk region overnight and set fire to a factory which was extinguished by the morning. Valentin Reschenko, head of the area's regional state administration, said the Russian army attacked the central Ukrainian region from the air and hit an oil depot and one of the factories. He added that no one was injured in the attack. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has said that the United States is assisting with international efforts to collect evidence of possible war crimes committed in Ukraine by Russia. Garland said that the U.S. Department of Justice senior prosecutor met with his French counterpart in Paris this week. Discussing the Russian military intelligence botnet, Garland said U.S. authorities were able to disable it before it could be weaponized.
Today, we are announcing several actions the Justice Department has taken to disrupt and prosecute criminal activity associated with the Russian regime. The first action we are announcing today is the unsealing of an indictment charging Russian oligarch Konstantin Malofev with sanctions violations. As the indictment charges, the Treasury Department previously identified Malofev as one of the main sources of financing for Russia's promoting separatism in Crimea and for providing material support for the so-called Donetsk People's Republic.
With the court-authorized operations we're announcing today, we've disrupted this botnet before it could be used. We were largely able to do that because we had close cooperation with WatchGuard. We've worked closely with WatchGuard to analyze the malware and develop detection tools and remediation techniques over the past several weeks. And our operation removed Russia's ability to control these firebox devices on the botnet network and then copied and removed malware from the infected devices. Now, I should caution that as we move forward, any firebox devices that acted as bots may still remain vulnerable in the future until mitigated by their owners.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has said that the United States will not participate in a number of meetings of the group of the 20 largest global economies if Russia is a participant because of its invasion of Ukraine. Yellen said in a testimony to the House Financial Services Committee that President Biden has made it clear that it cannot be business as usual for Russia if any of the financial institutions. She also said that the Russian ruble's near complete recovery in recent weeks is not a signal that the Russian economy is weathering the sanctions Washington and its allies have imposed on Russia.
Secretary Yellen, should Russia be removed from the G20?
So President Biden's made it clear, and I certainly agree with him, that it cannot be business as usual for Russia in any of the financial institutions. He's asked that Russia be removed from the G20, yes. And I've made clear to my colleagues in Indonesia that we will not be participating in a number of meetings if the Russians. We are working very closely with our partners to have a coordinated set of sanctions. And our goal from the outset has been to impose maximum pain on Russia while, to the best of our ability, shielding the United States and our partners of undue economic harm.
Pakistan's Supreme Court has held a hearing on Prime Minister Imran Khan's move to block an opposition attempt to oust him, a step his critics say is unconstitutional. The opposition has challenged the decision to block the vote in the Supreme Court, which began deliberating the case on Monday, the 4th of April. Khan lost his parliamentary majority last week and was facing a no-confidence vote. But the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, a member of Khan's party, threw out the motion, ruling it was part of a foreign conspiracy and unconstitutional. Khan then dissolved Parliament. The Supreme Court will rule on the matter on Thursday, April the 7th. Up next, All Palm Growers Association of Nigeria says Nigeria needs about $500 million worth of palm oil annually to meet its local demand. That's in business news after this short break.
And in business, the Lagos State government has paid over 38 billion naira as pension to 9,865 retirees in the mainstream local government, State Universal Basic Board, Teaching Service Commission, and other parastatals between May 2019 and last month. This is according to the Commissioner for Establishment, Training and Pension, Ajibola Bonle. Bonle spoke at the 92nd Retirement Bond Certificate presentation to retirees of the State Public Service at Alausa, Ikeja in Lagos. She said 1.52 billion naira was credited to retirement savings account of 515 retirees last month alongside their monthly contribution. Mrs. Bonley noted that the government was paying monthly pension entitlement to retirees under the Pay-As-You-Go pension scheme monthly and contributory pension scheme CPS. Presenting the certificates to the retirees, she said the government recognizes the plight of workers who have served in the public service and the need to safeguard their financial security after service. Nigeria has handed over the mantle of leadership of the West African Telecommunication Regulatory Assembly to the Republic of Guinea, having successfully piloted the affairs of the Assembly, the chairman in the last 1 year. The executive vice chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, Professor Umar Dan Bata, who served Nigeria's tenure as the chief executive officer of Nigeria's National Telecommunications Regulatory Authority, handed over to the newly elected chairman of the Assembly, Sakau Umar Bari of the Republic of Guinea. The handover ceremony was one of the major highlights of the recent concluded 19th annual general meeting of the WATRA, which took place in Conakry, Republic of Guinea. The AGM equally approved the WATRA's new strategic management plan 2020 to 2024. The new chairman, who will preside over the affairs of the Executive Council of WATRA for the next 1 year, is the Director General of the Telecommunication and Post Regulatory Authority of the Republic of Guinea. The Oil Palm Growers Association of Nigeria says Nigeria needs about $500 million worth of palm oil annually to meet its local demand. The association's national president, Joe Newke, said this while noting that to bridge the gap, local palm oil producers in Nigeria need to strategize to attract the needed funding to improve and increase production. Onyuke said the production and supply gaps in the palm oil value chain where because its processing has been left to the elderly, who most times deploy outdated processing methods. Meanwhile, she explained that the war between Russia and Ukraine has constrained major palm oil producing countries like Malaysia and Indonesia to limit their export capacity with Nigeria, as they are unable to meet the increasing export requests since production levels have stagnated. U.S. stock index futures have fallen, signaling a second day of selling on Wall Street as investors feared aggressive moves by the Federal Reserve to tackle inflation, with eyes on minutes from the central bank's March meeting. On Tuesday, the federal governor, Lael Brainerd, said she expected a combination of interest rate rise and a rapid balance shift runoff, spooking investors and dragging the tech-heavy Nasdaq down more than 2%. The mega-cap growth and technology stocks, whose valuations stand to be pressured by higher bond yields, fell more than 1% in the pre-market trading. The benchmark 10-year yield hit a 3-year high of 2.633%. Telsa International, Meta Platform International, Apple International, Amazon.com International, Alphabet International and Microcorp fell between 0.9% and 1.9%. Meanwhile, traders now see 83.1% odds of a 50 basis point rate hike at the Fed's meeting in May. The oil benchmark are bullish at the start of the London trading session on Wednesday, pairing early losses as the threat of new sanction on Russia raised supply concerns. The global benchmark, the Brent crude futures, is up 1.68%, currently trading $108.43 per barrel after falling to 105.06 earlier in the Asian session. The United States benchmark, the West Texas Intermediate future, is up 1.76%, currently $103.75 per barrel after dripping to as low as $103.17 in earlier trade. The United States and its allies on Wednesday prepared new sanctions on Russia over civilian killings in northern Ukraine, which President Vladimir Zelensky described as war crimes. Russia has so far denied targeting civilians. And that's it on Business News. Many thanks for watching. I am Messi Bokwo.
And entertainment news is up next.
Nigerian music superstar Wizkid lost the Best Global Music Performance Award at the 64th Grammy Awards to Eroj Aftab, a Pakistani vocalist based in Brooklyn. Since then, the snub has been extensively discussed by important figures in the music industry. Naomi Campbell is displeased with the loss. She didn't hesitate to criticize the Recording Academy on her Instagram page, accusing the committee of failing to pay attention to what was going on in the universe. According to her, Afrobeat deserves a Grammy category. She urged the Recording Academy to establish subcategories such as Afrobeat Artist of the Year, Song of the Year, and Album of the Year, among others, to avoid isolating the genre under the global music category. Gospel singer Sonny Badu says he is hopeful Black Sheriff can win Ghana a Grammy Award in the future. In a post on Instagram, the renowned gospel artist hailed the sensational singer and rapper for breaking into the Nigerian music scene. From his experience, such a feat is very difficult. He therefore entreated him to remain humble and focused and stay clean to ensure he continues releasing more bars. The consistent praise from many established Ghanaian and foreign artists is because Black Sheriff's song Kweku the Traveler has been setting records since it was released some days ago. Korean director Dong-hyuk Hwang has confirmed he is working on a new film that will be more violent than his acclaimed horror Squid Game. According to reports, Dong-hyuk Hwang revealed the controversial film will be an adaptation of Umberto Eco's novel, Killing Old People Club, and might see him hide from old people when it releases. He said Killing Old People Club will surely be another controversial film and that its violence level will top that of Squid Game. The director joked he might have to hide from older people after it's released, though no release date has been given for the film. Ace comedian Bright Okucha, popularly known as Basket Mouth, says comedians don't intentionally make people feel bad as their goal is to make people laugh, and in many cases, laugh at their pains. In an exclusive conversation, the comedian said jokes were always based on a subject, explaining that it would not be deterred in referencing people's behavior, experiences, or personality while doing his job, because Will Smith attacked Chris Rock during the Oscars. He said, "We need to respect the art form, though respect other people at the show. Anyone offended can express their feelings after the show." On whether the attack on Chris will influence or reshape the way we do comedy is a huge no. It will not in any way or form change anything about my craft. End of quote.
And the very best in sports news is up next.
The Executive Committee of the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has given its technical and development subcommittees a 5-day deadline to recommend a new coach for the Super Eagles. The decision to appoint new coaches for the Super Eagles and other vacant national teams was made at a meeting of the NFF's Executive Committee on Tuesday. The Chan team, Under-20 boys team, and Under-17 boys Golden Eaglets are also expected to have new coach recommendations ahead of the upcoming assignments. Fatai Amu had been named coach of the Golden Eaglets by the NFF, while Layden Bosso was appointed to the Flying Eagles coaching job. However, neither coach worked with any team during their tenures because Nigeria had not participated in any tournaments or assembled a team for both age grade national teams. Now, the Royal Dutch Football Association, KNVB, confirmed on Wednesday that Ronald Koeman will replace Louis van Gaal as Netherlands coach after the World Cup in Qatar. Van Gaal, who has long stated that he will leave after the World Cup later this year, revealed last week that he is undergoing treatment for an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Koeman guided the Netherlands to the Euro 2020 finals after missing the previous tournament and the 2018 World Cup, as well as to the Nations League final, where they lost 1-0 to Portugal. He left in August 2020 for what he described as his dream job at Barcelona, but was fired by the Catalan club in October of last year. Marian van Leeuwen, KNVB's Director of Professional Football, stated that the organization was eager to confirm the team's post-World Cup future as soon as possible in order to provide clarity to players and stakeholders. We are very happy that Ronald will return next year. During his previous term as national coach, there was great satisfaction with his work and the results, Van Leeuwen said. And after a 121-110 loss to the Phoenix Suns on Tuesday, the Los Angeles Lakers were officially eliminated from playoff contention. A 7th straight loss exacerbated the Lakers' miserable season, which now has them 31-48 on the season, 3 games behind the San Antonio Spurs, with just 3 games remaining. In LeBron James' absence, Russell Westbrook led the team with 28 points, while Anthony Davis chipped in with 21. Devin Booker led the Western Conference leaders with 32 points.
LA favored by in the preseason, likely out of it altogether, and they said, and just really waits for you to make a mistake. Feel good for Johnson, who was just 2 of 14 from 3 since he returned from that injury. Reeves in traffic and somehow rolls over the top of the rim. That was a heck of a... Stanley Johnson comes back with it. Horton Tucker, nice look inside. This year right now, the Lakers on the verge of being eliminated from the play-in game. That's a huge top. And the 6th for Russ. Ball to Booker. Order for Devin Booker and his 27th 30-point game of the season. Smooth sailing for Paul, who finds Bridges up top.
And that's all the sports news we have for you for now. Join us next time. My name is Mikhail Tinubu. Have a good night.
And the main news again. President Buhari signs executive order on compulsory maintenance of public buildings into law. FG approves the establishment of 12 new private universities. And Burkina Faso's former leader, Kampara, sentenced to life imprisonment over Sankara's murder. That's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Maureen Menongwe Zigwe. Thanks for watching.